Why don't we have our entrances?
You should.
When Lawrence walks into NBC Sports and what he's wearing, all decked out, and I show up looking like a homeless beggar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your discount kind of roll tide hoodie.
Yeah, exactly.
I gotta say, I saw Lawrence right when he walked in, and he looks exactly like it.
We don't be having.
Ready to go.
Do we need suitcases too? Thank you, by the way.
No problem.
I have a shoulder bag. I have like a duffel bag.
We can set that up. We should set that up.
Yeah.
Fantasy Football Pregame with Matthew Berry, served by Applebee's.
Should set it up, did set it up. The arrivals bright and early this morning. Lawrence, what do you got for us?
I'm just chilling, a little cold. I look like I'm coming through.
Coming through the door.
Take a bow. All right, it's just a little something.
As
I'm feeling
you
good.
should. Well, you said bring a suitcase. I promise, not a prop.
Wow.
Heading to the airport after. Full airplane mode.
Good God.
Is this,
Britney.
the hoodies.
It's a little different.
Oh.
Is he coming to rob us?
Don't
What's going on?
Is
You
Jay
almost
late?
pushed that girl through the door.
Me mugging with the vest.
There you go.
Wow.
Well,
Was
honestly,
that just sitting in the closet?
Yeah, I mean that's what I wear. You guys know that's what I wear in my normal everyday life. That's I just whatever I rolled out of bed in, and
That
there
was
you go.
sharp.
Thank you very much.
But what you really want to say is, if it was a little warmer outside, you wouldn't have had the
Obviously.
undershirt on. You would
Obviously.
have
The
just
full David
Yeah.
Njoku, which
Yeah.
I do
Showing
think
the
we
guns.
have. We got to see this from last week. It's not this week. Last week. That's what you were going after.
Yeah.
right?
I was a little bit. I was
Yeah.
trying to go full in Njoku.
You
and
never
not
want to
everyone
go
can
full in Njoku.
You never want to go.
Njoku.
Yeah, exactly. You never want to
How
go
much
full in
Njoku was he?
Njoku.
About
So
a
I went.
Quarter in Njoku.
Yeah.
I went half in Njoku.
This is today. Wow. I don't know. Matthew
Look at
Berry
Logan
or
Wilson
Logan
trying to be
Wilson.
me.
Yeah, he trying to be like
Not working, buddy.
It ain't like he got muscles or anything like that.
He's
No.
repping his team, though. He's fully
He looks like
embracing it, and I love
he
it.
looks like a young Matthew Berry. There's no question. Props.
Hats
For
off.
how many
Hats
years
off
ago?
to
Come on,
you.
look at that. Look at those guns. That's right. Yeah.
You look
Nice
mad.
shades, too. You
Thank
do
you
look
very
mad.
much. Well, I'm coming I got business to do.
Hey,
Coming
look
in
though,
hot.
It's
look.
game day, man. I
And
don't
look,
mess around.
Look, Matthew's still clean though. Look at the kicks right there. Look at the kicks
Wait,
over
show
there.
'em off, show
Matthew
'em off.
got the J's on right
Wait,
here,
can we see
ready
yours
to
too,
go.
Because you got some pretty sick
Yeah,
Right.
we got the J's on the end there.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? So
shout
fresh,
out-
so clean.
Shout out to my daughter Brooke. This is my present from my daughter Brooke.
Okay,
actually.
okay.
So,
That's why
Good
they
daughter
put you
right
two
there.
right
Great
exactly,
daughter.
Right?
Why is she
Right.
getting you a present? What's
What?
the occasion?
Because
Your
she
birthday?
loves me. Because I'm her best dad ever. I'm the best dad ever. Yeah, it was
Girl dad.
it was a birthday present. So yeah.
Oh, happy birthday. I should say hello officially. It's week 8. You're
Oh, yeah,
watching
yeah.
Fantasy Football Pregame. Make sure to tweet us. I mean, we know we want to hear all about that outfit and those arrivals. Matthew Berry, Lawrence Jackson, Jay Croucher. I'm Britney Eurton. Stoked to be back with you guys. How's
Yeah,
everybody
nice to
doing?
be back. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, whatever. I mean, George was here. We sent him off. You're here. You're sticking around.
Done
Something
kept
to
the
think
job.
about.
For now.
Done
For
kept the
now.
job.
George has been exiled
He
out of the
has
country.
been. Yeah,
He's not
exactly.
even in North America.
Where
anymore.
in the world is Carmen Sandiego? That's kind of what I feel
Where
like
in the
it's
world
like
is
with
George Savaricas?
Where in the world are we going with our storylines here, Matthew?
I'm going to tell you my storyline. I think to me the biggest fantasy storyline this week is DeAndre Hopkins. Now playing with a real quarterback for the first time in a long time. Goes to Kansas City. What will his impact be on this Chiefs offense, on Patrick Mahomes? Mahomes has obviously struggled a lot fantasy-wise this year. He gets the Raiders, right? And today is I'll deal with it when I deal with it day. If you remember that,
Yes, sir.
the Raiders made fun of Patrick Mahomes comparing him to Kermit the Frog.
Yes,
and
Kermit Vengeance
They
Day.
did.
yeah,
They
Kermit
not forget
Vengeance
about
Day.
that.
So he gets D-Hop in. So I think that's a big storyline is what is DeAndre Hopkins' fantasy value today and on the Chiefs moving forward, and also Mahomes, what's that value to the entire Kansas City Chiefs offense?
All right. Jay, what about you?
My storyline is Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta offense, and will Kirk destroy Tampa Bay's defense for a second time after he had the best game of his career, the best game in the history of the Atlanta Falcons franchise at the quarterback position when he lit them up in that primetime game. But I don't think anyone was really paying attention to Falcons Seahawks last week. It was just kind of this anonymous game in the 1 p.m. slate. Kirk was terrible in that game, and he's had these terrible games. I think back to week 1 against the Steelers too. So I don't know if the Achilles or just just still getting accustomed to the offense, but I think we'll learn a lot more about Kirk Cousins and the Falcons offense today and going forward.
Yeah, my fiance's got Kirk Cousins. He was not very happy because he picked him up last week. Lawrence, what about you?
I'm going to go with how does Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, all those guys, how does this offense look on week 2 for that? Devontae Adams started with them last week against the Steelers, started off good, ended terribly. So with another week together, my storyline is basically saying how is this offense as a whole going to look now with Devontae Adams being another week in?
And a better opponent, obviously, yeah, against the Patriots. I mean, he looked great against Aaron Rodgers hasn't looked good this year, but he did against the Patriots.
Yes, he did. The best game of
the season, that Thursday night game.
For me, the Colts have something to be excited about. Obviously, Anthony Richardson coming back last week. They've got Jonathan Taylor back after missing 2 games due to an ankle sprain. So they struggled to run the ball without him. They were averaging about 89.6 yards during weeks 5 and 6. So Taylor being back should be huge, of course, with Anthony Richardson as well. So Colts.
Anything that keeps them from not letting Anthony Richardson throw.
Whoa.
Lawrence.
Whoa. We'll see about that a little later.
Lawrence,
We'll talk about that. I feel
Lawrence,
that.
on shot, if I throw 2 balls at you and you catch one of them, I've got a higher completion percentage than Anthony Richardson right now.
Well, now you have to go to however many passes he's thrown this season. So get up to like 70 passing attempts. Now, if you complete 35 of those, now we're talking.
Yeah,
then you got me.
Yeah, fair enough.
Remember this for later. These names
But if
are
it's right
definitely
here,
coming up later.
then you should.
I should go 1 for 2 at least. By the way, I just now noticed. Did you see Britney? Where did you serve, by the way? I'm just very, shout out to our veterans.
I've got a mix. I'm feeling a little Top Gun inspired.
Yeah,
also, I mean, I'd be remiss even though I'm in New York, Connecticut right now, but living in New York. Got to wear my Dodgers hat.
Got to represent. It's a good day to represent.
Had to.
Great moments.
Okay, last week, decimated by injuries, week 7. So let's talk about the notable players that are ruled out officially in week 8. Jerome Ford, Tajay Spears, Mike Evans. I mean, the list goes on and on. It was a really brutal week, particularly for wide receivers. Most significant, I should say, player ruled out in here for you guys?
Most significant, I mean, obviously Mike Evans, but I think we knew it. Juwan Jennings, I think that's really interesting because we already know Brandon Ayuk's not going to play. So I expect, even though he was a little bit ill earlier in the week, Deebo Samuel, if you look at Deebo Samuel's numbers without Brandon Ayuk in the lineup, they're ridiculous. And no Juwan Jennings either. So I think it's going to be a big Deebo Samuel game tonight on Sunday Night Football on NBC and Peacock. I'm a company man. Last one I'll mention there, Jameson Williams. With a suspension for 2 games, Tim Patrick is kind of interesting. Like, I'm going to go to some desperation plays, and he's not on there, but Tim Patrick suddenly becomes sort of interesting. I feel like he's made plays, he looks good, and he's now the number 2 for Jared Goff, a red-hot Jared Goff. Yep,
great, amazing story, Tim Patrick, that he's even out there at all, and what he's adding, becoming potentially wide receiver 2 for an amazing offense while James Williams is out. Just quick, on the Panthers, who are missing Deontay Johnson and Adam Thielen, I think that is a source of kind of flyers from fantasy, just because it's still an NFL team, an NFL offense. They have to throw the ball to someone. Xavier Legette presumably is going to get covered by Patrick Surtain, who is back. So that is just that is a bad situation.
Jatavian Sanders, come on
Patrick
down.
Surtain comes back. And then you lose Deontay Johnson.
And Adam Thielen. Yeah, and you got I'm just saying, like, it literally might be Jatavian Sanders. Chuba Hubbard might carry the ball 400 times today as well. It's an 11-point, by the way, the Broncos are 11-point favorites. Jay, that feels too low. With Bryce Young, on the road. Oh, look at this.
A sight for sore eyes. Tua is back. I mean, that's huge for the Miami Dolphins. And, of course, what we're talking, burning questions, we got to start right there. The Arizona Cardinals facing off against the Miami Dolphins.
What about his kicks? Look, you missed it. There's
he was comfortable.
A bit more attitude from Tyreek.
Yeah. There you go. Tyreek's saying, you know what Tyreek is saying? Start me today.
That's exactly what he's
saying.
Start me.
Those juicy suits that were really popular back in the day.
Yeah. You know what? Open invitation to Tyreek Hill to come to Tracksuit Friday. Looks like he would fit right in.
Yeah. And he ran track.
Yeah, exactly. Tracksuit Friday on Fantasy Football Happy Hour.
But, okay, what do we make of Tua? Is he going to be a top 12 play this week in his first game back? Of course, cleared the NFL-mandated concussion protocol. It's great to see him back, but what do you anticipate from him?
I anticipate a really good game. Like, he's played 1 game this year, right? That was against the Jags in week 1. He threw for 338 passing yards in that one. The Cardinals allow the 5th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. They're giving up over 18 a game. Arizona allows 8.3 yards per pass attempt as well, which is most of the NFL. So they not only give up a lot of points and a lot of yards, they give up a lot of deep passes. And now they got to go for a West Coast team traveling for a 1 o'clock game in Miami against Tua and obviously Waddle and Hill. The other thing here, Lawrence, is that the Cardinals' defense is bad, but they're also banged up.
Yeah.
Like, it was a bad defense to start the year, and they've lost a number of starters on that on the defensive side of the ball. And so, wheels up for Tua and the entire Dolphins offense today.
Yeah, we talked about last week Justin Herbert going up against this Cardinals defense. Well, he threw for 349 yards.
Yeah.
So, and he don't have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. So,
No, sir, he does not.
Good luck to the Cardinals DBs.
All right, Lindsay Roberts sending in a question here. All right, 12-team full PPR. I got Hill, Waddle, Olave, Pittman, Sutton, and Bateman. I was going to start Hill and Waddle, but need help on who to flex. What do we think?
I think it's Chris Olave. I get it,
Yep.
right? You don't love the matchup. You certainly don't love Spencer Rattler, but I hate Pittman's quarterback as well. Cortland Sutton, doesn't
Really?
do.
Anthony
Yeah.
Richardson copying it early. Just
I'm
copying
just-
it.
This man just said hate.
Well, from a fantasy perspective, I've interviewed Anthony Richardson.
like lovely.
He's
Lovely.
a
The
lovely
start of the
guy.
show.
Anthony Richardson's a great guy. I've interviewed him. He's a great guy, and he'll figure it out. He's too talented not to. But just for today, he hasn't. You're not.
Yeah,
loving
you're not
Pittman.
going Pittman there.
Yeah, I think
I'm
Olave's
with
the
you.
answer. Olave's the answer there as well.
But
Yeah, go
back
ahead,
to
Cris.
this matchup, though, what kind of impact does Tua have in being back on Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane? What kind of impact does he have from a fantasy perspective being there now?
Well, I think the thing with Tua is that I don't think anyone thinks Tua is like a top 5 quarterback in the NFL on talent, but he might be in terms of impact to an offense. Just when you look at the drop-off from Tua to Tyler Huntley, like in terms of how Tua impacts the line, like it's a 5 to 6 point swing based on Tua Tagovailoa. And I think that this Mike McDaniel offense, it seems just like a really complicated car to drive, and seemingly only Tua can drive it. Because I mean, Tyreek Hill just did nothing for a month. Jalen Waddle did nothing for a month.
crazy.
It's completely insane. And I think that Tua coming back, I mean, it's going to have an exponential effect on all of these guys.
He won't win it, but you could make an argument that Tua Tagovailoa should win Most Valuable Player. Because who's more valuable to his team than Tua? I mean, you saw what the Dolphins have been with Tua, and you see what they are without
Yeah.
him. Now, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's also a.
And it ain't like they some great team either.
No, exactly. That's my point. Again, I'm being a little facetious here, but not totally. I mean, it depends on how you define Most Valuable Player, but
Yeah.
tell me. I
think the thing with Tua for today, and if anyone's apprehensive about starting him, Tua said that his symptoms dissipated like a few days,
Correct.
straight after the incident,
Literally
basically.
the next day, I think he
Yes,
said.
and so the fact that has happened, the fact that he's coming back when he's first eligible off of IR.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem that concerned. He's not wearing a Guardian cap or anything. I expect that he's just going to be Tua again, and I'm not really expecting any drop off.
Week 1, Devon Achane was running back 3. Tyreek Hill was wide receiver 4. Jalen Waddle was wide receiver 16. They were nothing close to that when he was out, so that's the impact, that especially versus defenses that aren't good.
As it relates to what we're talking about today, though, I have Tua at QB 11 after the Thursday night game is out. I'm starting Tua, Hill, Waddle, Achane, wherever I have them. With no hesitation at all. The one person I do have a hesitation on, though, is Marvin Harrison Jr., guys. Wide receiver 24 for me, so I think he's a shaky wide receiver 3. He's been under 50 receiving yards in 5 out of 7 games so far this year. Miami allows the fewest fantasy points to opposing wide receivers, and I think he's going to see some Jalen Ramsey today too, obviously. So I'm nervous about Kyler. I'm nervous about the Cardinals' offense on the road here. I feel like they try to slow down the Dolphins' offense by running a lot of James Conner. So
And they getting healthier, too, on
Yes.
defense. They get back safety, Javon Holland. They're the only defense that hasn't let up 1,000 pass yards yet. They're the only defense. That's actually crazy after 7 weeks.
All right, BC Lions fan 0222 hashtag FF pregame.
Yeah, by the way, this is clearly a burner account. Lions fan 02222 is this is my account that I don't want my league mates to see. This is my
Maybe
secret
born
account.
February 22nd, just leaning into that.
Maybe.
Okay, need to
This is
start
probably
two
like
moves.
Connor Rogers. This is like his secret account.
Lions fan.
Yeah, exactly.
MHA, Tyron Tracy, or D-Hop. Thanks. Short and to the point.
Yeah. Okay,
Connor
you start
does have
too.
Tyrone Tracy in our league, too.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Guess still got to start Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, I think it's Marvin Harrison Jr. and I think it's Tyrone Tracy.
Yeah.
I think with DeAndre Hopkins, just to talk about that real quickly here, I think that last week, Amari Cooper, I think, is actually a good sort of sample. I mean, obviously, different player, different offense, everything like that. But Amari Cooper got there that week, ran only 12 routes. Now, he earned a target on 5 of them. He caught 4 of them, and 1 of them was a touchdown. So, I mean, I think that's what you're hoping for with DeAndre Hopkins, is that that they're going to have a small package of plays for him, probably in the red zone where it can be impactful. I think he'll get a red zone look today. So it's just sort of a little bit, how lucky do you feel? Like, what do you think Patrick Mahomes and DeAndre Hopkins to do on 12 routes, 12 to 15 routes, and maybe 5 to 6 targets, and like, so you're really hoping for a touchdown. He's basically a touchdown-dependent wide receiver 3 for me today, DeAndre Hopkins. But I do think once he gets acclimated to this offense, they're going to use him. Andy Reid talked about this earlier in the week. Andy Reid said, like, they're going to use him like almost in that big slot role that we sort of saw Rashee Rice or Juju Smith-Schuster use. Like, so I mean, so they'll still have Xavier Worthy on the outside, who, by the way, in his first game out of the bye, like, ran a lot more routes. So feels like Worthy is starting to come along, which is great. But anyway, that's what I think with Hopkins. So I think because we know Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to get looks, and we know Tyrone Tracy, who played many more snaps than Devin Singletary against the Steelers defense that doesn't really scare you on the ground. You can run on them. I mean, we saw Rico Dowdle have his best game against the Steelers on the road. So I think it's MHJ and Tyrone Tracy.
Okay, moving forward. Next
Connor.
up. Let's talk, a.k.a. Baltimore Ravens at the Cleveland Browns. The Ravens are favored. That line moved a touch, 7.5. They're favored by. So, who benefits most from Jameis Winston taking over as the starter? The look on your face.
America, I was going to say, I'm going to make that same joke as well.
America,
yes.
by the way.
Well,
anyone that watches NFL football.
I was going to say literally any pass catcher on that offense.
Anybody.
But, yeah, same thing. Cedric Tillman is the guy we're looking forward to, right? Because now that Amari Cooper's gone, Cedric Tillman should step into that role. Last week, 8 catches, 81 yards, played 82% of the snaps. So you're kind of looking for him to take that spot. But their best pass catcher still is David Njoku. But I think everybody will benefit from this simply because you got Jameis there at quarterback, who I still think is a starter. You got Baltimore. They allow the most fantasy points to wide receivers. Not a great pass defense. So there's a lot of people that benefit here, but David Njoku and Cedric Tillman are the top 2 guys I'd be looking at.
Yeah, you said still starter, but it hasn't started since September of 2022, so it's, of course, been a while for Jameis Winston.
But I think he's a viable streamer today. I mean, again, he's going to throw 2 picks. But like he will, the Jameis show.
I like this for later. Remember that.
Yeah, the Jameis show is going to be fun. It's going to be entertaining. But this is a pass funnel defense. You can't run on the Ravens. They're 8-point underdogs here. Like Jameis is going to be throwing, and I think in we'll see when we get to shot. But I'm very excited about David Njoku today, and Connor Rogers is starting Cedric Tillman against me, and I'm nervous about it because I think he's going to go off.
B. Sanford, week 8 is getting spooky. By the way, did we show off your shirt?
Oh, yeah, just a little.
Come on, it's very in line.
Brittany
for
told me
Halloween
earlier
coming
it
up.
was, you said it was perfect for Halloween.
It is.
I honestly wasn't thinking about that. But since you said it, hell yeah, Halloween, baby, next week, let's go.
I like it.
Yeah.
Week 8 is getting spooky. You need 1 wide receiver, 1 running back, 10 team, 5-point PPR. So Zay Flowers, Devontae Smith, Kamara, or Dobbins already playing Jones.
Yeah.
And have Mason in his flex today.
Yeah, I like
in
it.
their flex today, I should say.
I'm going with Devontae B. Sanford. By the way, appreciate you watching on YouTube. I'm going to go with Devontae Smith and J.K. Dobbins here. Kamara's banged up. I don't have a lot of confidence in that offense with Spencer Rattler under center as well. I know Devontae Smith had the bad game last week, but playing against the Bengals. By the way, Jay, are you surprised? I'm surprised the Bengals are 2.5-point favorites against the Eagles in this one. Game's in Cincinnati, but I was really surprised that the Eagles aren't favored in this one. I get that the Bengals are playing better in the games in Cincy, but I don't know. I get that the Eagles have struggled, but they find ways to win, and the Bengals don't.
May have a shot for shot about that, but I agree with you, Matthew.
Yeah, so anyway, sorry to don't really steal your thunder, but just as we're talking about that game, anyway, the Bengals secondary has struggled. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game, and I do think the Eagles will be able to move the ball through the air, especially with Smith. I think he's going to be 1B to A.J. Brown's 1A.
All right, moving on. This big one. Falcons, Buccaneers, both 4-3, so it's a battle for the NFC South and NFC South, I should say. And in terms of the line, -2.5 in favor of the Falcons. So, question here is, who steps up in the Bucs passing game with, of course, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin sidelined, unfortunately?
Well, I think it's a lot of the running backs there. You see Rashad White at running back 23, Bucky Irving at running back 30 as well. Cade Otton, tight end 7. To me, those are the guys there. Rashad White. Look, Godwin and Evans being out, that was a 46% target share that's now up for grabs. So Rashad White is actually the team's second leading receiver in terms of who's healthy. Cade Otton is number 1, and Rashad White is number 2. 16 touches for, look at that. The creamsicles,
cool.
wearing a Chris Godwin creamsicle jersey.
Yeah.
Love that, Baker Mayfield.
You can appreciate that.
I got it. Baker Mayfield, who, despite what you see on the internet and a picture of him with just Jay Croucher, I am telling you, Baker's my buddy, and when we interviewed him in front of the show, he's awesome.
Yes.
He's just like, teammates love him. Yeah. He's one of those
well,
guys.
You can see why.
Oh, 100%. When you meet Baker, you're just like, I'm going to run through a brick wall for this guy. Like, he's that kind of dude.
Yep.
And
difference maker in terms of
difference
morale,
maker, and I think he will get these Buccaneers up for the challenge to be without Evans and Godwin. So to answer the question here again, Rashad White, 16 touches against the Ravens. That was his most since week 1. So I think they'll lean on the running backs. I think you'll see all 3 guys involved, Irving and Sean Tucker as well. Cade Otton, by the way, he's got 4 games with 6 or more targets this year. He's averaging over 12 fantasy points per game, Brittany. Since week 3, he's the 8th best tight end in fantasy on a points per game basis. So I think you'll see Otton in the middle of the field here. If I had to pick one, I guess I'll say Jalen McMillan, just because I think he's the most talented guy. Todd Bowles loves his veterans, and so you'll see Sterling Shepard in the slot. But for me, Jalen McMillan, who had an 18% target share last week, he leads the team in average depth of targets. I do think they'll try to take some deep shots against the Falcons to try to open up that run game as well. So it's a little bit, listen, he's my wide receiver 40. I'm trying to talk you into it. I don't, you know what I mean? Like,
don't talk him too much into it, because it's really going to be Cade Otton.
That's exactly right. I mean,
on National Tight End Day.
On National Tight End Day.
How did I not mention that off the top?
Right, exactly. Happy National Tight End Day to all who celebrate.
We're all celebrating.
To all who celebrate. I mean, that's why I wore the outfit I wore when I walked in. Like, that's my National Tight End Day celebration outfit.
It's a great homage.
Yes, it's very it's Njoku-esque. It's Njoku-esque. Look at this. Come on
just
now.
one more time. One more time.
Why do you look like Michael Myers in Halloween?
Yes. Why is he so stiff walking in? Why
are you trying to kill Jamie Lee Curtis?
Like, come on, man. Alabama won, man.
Yeah, that's because it's serious business. Because it's serious business.
Murderous.
I'm here to help.
Looking murderously good.
There was
you know what?
movement from here up.
Yeah, you're damn right.
They should have put the Friday the 13th music behind that.
I'll tell you what, because I'm here to help America
I think they can
murder
do
their
that.
opponents in fantasy today. That's right. Everyone that's watching here on the Peacock.
Gosh.
Anyway,
Please go viral.
I'm starting Jalen McMillan in a couple of leagues for whatever that's worth, but it's only because I'm a little bit desperate, to be honest, including in our league in my matchup against Connor this week.
This is too good. Daniel Katz, what do you got for us? Hashtag FF pregame. So White, Monty, McBride for flex PPR. Which direction do we go?
I assume that's David Montgomery.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I assuming that's David Montgomery, that's where I'm going. He's been such a touchdown machine. I get that it's a tough matchup against Tennessee, but even in all these tough matchups, Jared Goff's played really, really well. He moves the ball. So he clearly, of those guys, especially because Trey McBride has yet to score a touchdown this year, David Montgomery to me is, I think, the obvious one there.
Yeah, agreed?
Yeah.
All in agreement at the table here. All right, we move on. Our final burning question here, Cowboys, Niners, NFC rivalry. It's Sunday Night Football. Do you bench Dak?
I think it depends naturally on what else you have, but it's not the most terrifying matchup against the Niners defense, which has been merely solid. It's not the Niners defense that we saw under DeMeco Ryans a couple years ago. Has been a bit vulnerable in the secondary. At the same time, though, this is a house of horrors for Dak Prescott. He is terrible every single time that he plays the San Francisco 49ers. And outside of CeeDee Lamb, he's just had no one else really step up. Matthew's got him QB 17, so for the most part, you should be able to find better options. I suspect that they are going to be trailing in this game. I don't understand why the Niners are only 4.5 point favorites here. I think they're going to win and cover on Sunday Night Football. But Dak Prescott, I think that he's just not the same guy. It's not the same offense that it was last year. And I think everyone's focusing on the receivers, but like the offensive line isn't the same either. Rookie left tackle, rookie center, and Terrence Steele at right tackle has struggled too. So I just don't think that Dak from last year is walking through that door.
He's my QB 17 this week. 5 of the 7 quarterbacks that have faced the Niners this year have scored under 13 fantasy points. 5 straight games the Niners have allowed 1 or fewer touchdown pass. I think it's basically become a one-dimensional offense. They're now 5-point underdogs. So that game script goes towards Dak's favor. And weirdly, he's actually played a little bit better on the road fantasy-wise than he has at home. You know, didn't have the great first game on the road at Cleveland. They've only had 3 road games. But the other 2, like, he's been so brutal at home. You know, like they just getting blown out. Super weird.
Playing indoors.
I know.
It should be easier.
All of it, the whole season's been weird. But the last 2 games that Dak has played at San Francisco was last year in week 5, 153 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, 4.3 fantasy points. And then 2022, that divisional playoff game, you remember, like, you know, he tried to run and the whole thing. But he threw for 206 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 10 fantasy points. So he has struggled the last 2 years at San Francisco. Also, it's important for the Cowboys as well, but this is the Niners season. With the Rams winning and the Seahawks winning last week, the Niners are at home, Sunday Night Football. They're about ready to go into their bye. They know they need this game. If the playoffs started today, San Francisco's not in it. Yep. They need this win in a bad way, and so I think they will get hyped in front of the national TV audience at night under the lights. Again, he's my QB 17 for this game as well. I do think Jordan Mason has a big game off the injury last week. 16 of 19 running back touches. Cowboys 27th in the NFL in rush defense as well. Mason is, somebody that I think they'll lean on, especially given the fact that no Brandon Ayuk, no Jawan Jennings in this one.
I mean, that's the injuries hit them too, of course, right? So with them out, aside from who you just said, I mean, who would step up from the Niners team here when it is such a crucial game?
Well, I think from a fantasy perspective, like you're starting Kittle and you're starting Debo anyway, so really the inflection point is Ricky Pearsall, and I think he's a guy who you can take a deep flyer on. This Cowboys defense just isn't that good. Micah Parsons is going to be out again. For anyone who missed that, I think the expectation was Parsons is going to come back off the bye, but he is out again, and this Cowboys defense just hasn't been able to stop anyone really in any facet. They've struggled against the run, so I agree Jordan Mason should have a massive game. And then I think that this 49ers offense, Brandon Ayuk out, Kyle Shanahan's going to be able to find ways to scheme open Ricky Pearsall. And I think that he is someone who is worth a shot if you are desperate to throw in your flex.
Well, I would say between the two, San Francisco does have the edge. 20 victories over the Cowboys, so we'll see if they can make that 21. I lied. We have one more burning question.
Wait, we do?
Yes, George wanted to be a part of it. Where in the world did you say? Where is George coming from?
Where is George?
George, where are you?
How far away
we sent him? What kind of questions do you have?
Hey, everyone from Japan. George Savaricas with Graham Dillette, PGA Tour Pro. We're getting ready for the final round of the Zozo Championship as this week the PGA Tour, Graham, is in the Far East.
Yeah, they couldn't keep you away. They tried to ship you as far away as they could, but George is here. He's committed to your show.
Yeah, we got fantasy football pregame gearing up for week number 8. Graham, you're in 3 different fantasy football leagues. I know one question you have, which is pretty crazy at the start of the season, that it seems like it would have been an obvious answer. Quarterback for the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, or a guy who just lost in primetime on the Jets. You got Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, and Mahomes in Las Vegas, indoors. I kind of like that, but with Devontae Adams back, is that hookup going to work in New York? So we'll see. But they're at New England this week, which is a tough defense.
So that's his first start-sit question for everyone on the desk. The other one, Matthew, your ride or die, Kyler Murray or Kirk Cousins. Cousins had that one wild 500-yard game, but other than that, little suspect. Murray's been spotty as well.
Yeah, he has. Murray got a little bit of upside, obviously, on the rushing, but Kirk Cousins, that big game that he had was against Tampa Bay, and that's who they got again here this week. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, and then Matthew, we got the head-to-head with your Commanders taking on my Bears. Just curious if Jaden Daniels, for some reason, doesn't go. Mariota looked good against the Panthers. Bears defense a little different than the Panthers. So skill position guys like McLaurin, Brian Robinson Jr., Austin Eckler, would they all still be must starts? And Lawrence, I know we're going head-to-head in the League of Assholes. I'm ready for you, Hollywood. I got to keep the win streak going. Took down Jay last week. Hollywood, now I'm going to take you down this week. Let's go back to the studio.
All right.
I love that. If only
Thank you,
all
George.
of our
He's in
questions
Japan.
were sent in like that. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Disappointingly professional from George.
Disappointingly professional. Very.
He's,
well,
yeah, he's a
the
golf.
bright green
He's
shirt.
really a golf guy.
Yeah,
You
he
can
comes
see it
with-
now.
oh,
You
yeah,
can
yeah,
now
that was
see
the-
it.
Golf channel in his veins.
Very good. You never get the
Scoffs
golf.
down
You can
sushi
take the
in
guy out of the
Shinjuku.
golf channel, but you can't take it out. You take the golf
No.
channel out of George. There's no question about that. He also had a tour professional, somebody that has to interview. that, like, he had.
check.
Yeah, exactly.
get
He was.
It was
Chaos,
clever.
George.
Yeah, it was. It's like it's,
George Unleashed.
You know what? Yeah, that's what that was. That was like when you bring your significant other home to see the parents,
Yes,
and they're like,
exactly.
and you're like,
On your best
Yes.
behavior.
yeah, you're on your best behavior. Or when you go to meet them, like when
Yeah.
when I went to go meet Beth's parents for the first time, it was just sort of like, yeah, you keep the beer funnel at home, right?
Exactly.
You know,
That
Yes,
was a
we
very
need-
different video than last week.
We need
though.
the
He
real
was stomping
George.
on grapes.
We need
Yeah.
him alone in Shibuya after 7 plum wines.
Yeah,
and then we need to see
exactly.
the real Severicus Unleashed.
Yeah, I would have liked to see that out and about in Japan.
Okay. Let's answer those questions.
I will
yeah.
answer those
Mahomes
questions.
Or Rodgers.
I think Mahomes. I do think Mahomes has a nice game against the Raiders, but they're also so bad. I think they're so bad defensive. They're so bad offensively. The Raiders are.
Raiders.
Sorry, the Raiders are so bad. Like, I just don't know that Mahomes is going to have to throw a ton. Like, I could see a defensive touchdown on the Chiefs. Rodgers was so good against the Patriots before, and another week with Davante Adams here. So, and their season is on the line as well. So I'm going to go with Rodgers, just barely over Mahomes. I'm going to go with my ride or die Kyler Murray over Kirk Cousins. I get it. Buccaneers. I don't know. I just don't feel like we're going to have another shootout. You know what I mean? Again, I think the Buccaneers are going to try to want to play conservative, given their lack of offensive weapons as well. And so Cousins has been up and down. Murray at least has the rushing upside there. And then the final question, what was it?
Commanders pass catchers
Commanders
must
pass
start,
catchers.
even without Jaden Daniels, but is expected to play.
Yeah, I think, first off, I'm just telling you, Jaden Daniels is going to play. Faith
It
in
looks
five.
like he's gonna play.
It looks like he's going to play.
I hope he plays.
I hope
I
he
need him.
plays. The NFL hope he plays. Like, he's a tough kid.
For my shot for shot, I hope he does not play.
I have no inside information, but I'm just calling it right now. He's playing. He's going to play. That kid means too much. But even though I'm still starting, even if I'm Mariota under center, I'm still starting Terry McLaurin. I'm still starting Brian Robinson. The rest of whether Daniels is starting or not, I don't want any real part of Noah Brown or Eckler and McNichols are sort of splitting that the third down role. So McLaurin and Robinson, I think, and then if you're desperate at tight end, Zach Ertz.
Well, then you probably already answered this question, or at least helped out Alex here. Garrett, pick three. Garrett Wilson, Terry McLaurin, George Pickens, or Jalen Waddle.
I think Waddle is the odd man out.
Yeah, I mean, they're all great starts. I don't think you can screw this up, Alex. They're all terrific. I have them all as top 20 plays, but I think Waddle is the odd man out. I agree with Jay here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All in agreement at the table.
Just,
all right.
You've got three number ones. I mean, Wilson's basically co-number one with Devontae Adams, but you've got three number one wide receivers, and then Waddle, who's been inconsistent. Though I do think, again, I don't think he can screw it up because I think all four guys have nice games today.
Keep the questions coming. Hashtag FF pregame. I mean, we don't expect them to look like what George sent in, but if you want to send in a video, why not? We would love that
down.
too. It is time for shot for shot. I feel like we've been teasing this. I mean, obviously, a lot of what we've talked about has been a part of the shot for shot. So, Matthew, you start us off.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Right.
Tuatunga. Yeah, you heard me.
Whether if you wanted me to or not.
Yeah, gonna do it.
I'm gonna.
Yeah, 1,000%. Tua Tagovailoa in his return finishes as the top 12 fantasy quarterback today. Cardinals, as I've mentioned before, allow the fifth most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. Tyreek says start him in fantasy. I hear you, Tyreek. I also said starting Tua in fantasy as well. Top 12 today.
Okay, my first shot. Tyler Algier, which is a tough 2 words for most fantasy managers,
Sure.
the bane of their existence. He goes under 39.5 rushing yards today. He only had 5 carries last week against the Seahawks. He went 6 for 12 against the Bucs last time they played. I think Bijan Robinson's starting to get more control of that backfield.
I like that.
Look, I'm going to go with the Dolphins too, right? And that last question, I don't know. I might have started Jalen Waddle. I don't know. I'm going to go Tyreek
Pickens?
Hill. Probably, yeah.
Pickens
I'm going to
against
go
the Giants.
Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, both top 12 wide receivers. Look, week 1 against the Jags, again, Tyreek Hill was wide receiver 4, Jalen Waddle was wide receiver 16. Guys ahead of Waddle that week were Nico Collins, Chris Godwin, Rashid Shaheed, Rashid Rice, Mike Evans, Jameson Williams. None of those guys are playing today. So it's not crazy to think both of them could become top 12s, especially against this Arizona defense.
Oh, I like it. And Tirico basically just told everybody to start him.
Yeah.
That's what he said to Fantasy.
There you
Pros.
go.
All right, for me, my first one, George Kittle on National Tight End Day will score a touchdown. For me,
I like it.
obviously, Brandon Ayuk out. Debo's recovering from pneumonia even though he is playing. Juwan Jennings out as well. So he's been a top pass catcher for the Niners. So for me, George Kittle to score a touchdown on National Tight End Day.
All right. I dig it. I can't tell you how many I was today years old when I learned out National Tight End Day was about the position in football. I thought it was about something entirely different.
Very good pass.
Now you know, and
You
now
saw
you-
my
now you know
outfit
the
that I walked
attire.
in
Yes.
and today, and
Yes.
I thought we were going to do something else. That's all.
I could
That's all.
tell.
Yeah, I know. There you go. All right, Falcons.
Give it-
All right,
give it
listen. My second shot. Bird up. Bird up, baby. Bird up, because Detective Drake London, friend of the podcast, finishes as the top 5 fantasy wide receiver today. That is my shot. Detective Drake London, top 5 wide receiver this week. Tampa Bay has allowed at least 1 touchdown to a wide receiver in every single game this year. So if you're telling me at least 1 wide receiver on the Falcons scores today, I say it's Detective Drake London. Top 5 finish for the man. Bird up.
All right, bird up indeed. All right,
Ooh,
I'm going
see how he's feeling about it.
I'm going Herbie fully loaded. Justin Herbert goes over 205.5 passing yards. Hit 349
Yeah.
last week. Now he gets the Saints. No weather in the dome. They've had a positive pass rate over expectation 2 weeks in a row, the Chargers. So Justin Herbert should just never set a 205.5.
That's
against the suspect
crazy.
defense.
I'm going
It's
to bet that
ridiculous.
right now.
Should be 30, 40
All right.
yards higher.
I'm
I
going to
think.
bet
So,
that right now. Lawrence
yes.
and Brittany, you guys take a while so I can
right.
just do that.
Just
right
leave
now.
it
You
over.
got it.
All right.
Yeah.
So my second shot, Matthew went bird up. I'm gonna go horse up.
Yeah, I like it.
I like that too.
Yeah,
I'm down for
Colts
that.
beat the Texans outright. This number was at -6 the
horse
beginning of the
up.
week. Now it's -5. Houston forced
my
2
language.
turnovers
Yeah.
versus the Packers last week. Still couldn't win the game. This first game between these 2 teams was close. And then people was gonna say, "Oh, well, CJ Stroud better than Anthony Richardson." Yeah, no shit. Look, this is a team game, and the teams are closer than what people think. So give me the Colts money line.
I like it.
I like it.
Fire up.
Matthew, don't listen to me
Lawrence
right now, okay? Because I
fully
might
loaded.
not
Yeah.
be back after
All
this.
right.
I am going as my second. Bears to beat the Commanders. I know. It just.
Well, see,
I
but
move?
see the thing about that, Brittany, is
No,
you
no.
sitting at the table with 2
can't.
gentlemen
No, no.
who
I
we,
can't.
we
I
can't roll
just-
with that.
But just a quick question for just a quick aside. How's your Japanese? I just
Oh,
can't,
no.
because George, you're coming back next week.
Hold on.
George, you're
Somewhere else,
coming back.
Italy?
I'm shipping you to Japan,
How about
and
Italy?
George is
Tuscany?
coming back.
Wow.
It's all right. You had a good 2-week run.
I
You had a
did.
good
You know,
run.
it's been really fun.
You had a good run.
We're not even halfway, so might
No,
be
you
out
can finish
early.
out the show.
How long is the flight from? Okay.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Disclaimer here, though. I thought Jaden Daniels wouldn't play. Obviously, seeming very, very likely. Game time decision for Jaden Daniels to
He could
play.
play.
Also supporting my man Caleb Williams. I'm a fellow Trojan. But anyways, Bears winners of 3 straight games. Williams was on fire the last 3 weeks with 7 touchdowns. So for me, that's where I'm landing. Bears to cover. The line moved quite a bit. It's been back and forth.
Yeah,
Plus
gone
1
from
now.
4 to 1, the other side, 5-point move. Jaden Daniels, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the
What do you
NFL.
think it'll end
Commanders
at?
are now favored?
Commanders are now -1.
That's because he's playing.
So-
that's
Yeah.
why, because he's playing. They know.
Bird up,
Bird up.
horse up, bear down.
Bear
That's what you
down.
saying?
Oh, I like it.
That's
Bear
what
Bear
she's
down.
saying. She's
Bear
saying
down.
bear down. But bear down, I think, actually might be it. Like the whole
No,
thing.
that's
is
the thing. That's the
it's-
actual
it's-
say. They
it's gotta
actually
be like
say that.
fur
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
paw up.
We're getting stopped
If
doing
you
the
don't
fur
want
up
them to
thing.
win, you say bear out.
Bear
but
out.
bear down is like, oh, we down for the
Someone
cause.
figure
We
out
finna
how to say
win.
bear down
I
in
like that.
Japanese for Brittany next week. Because she can be, over there. Let's figure it out. That's all right.
Prefer maybe Italy a little bit. That would be great. Okay,
Yeah.
next up,
Oh, yeah.
round 3.
Yeah. You know what I'm doing right here? Going full Njoku. That's right. Let me go. Oh, yeah.
Oh dear.
Oh, yeah.
Oh
Full
dear.
Njoku.
What's happening?
Hold on now.
Yeah. David Njoku finishes as a top 3 fantasy tight end today. He led all tight ends in targets last week. Ravens, incidentally, allowed the 6th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. Jameis actually is an upgrade to this offense. Negative game script. They're 8-point underdogs. They're going to be throwing a lot. And we like Cedric Tillman, but honestly, the most experienced pass catcher on that team is David Njoku. So, yeah, top 3 fantasy tight end finish coming for David Njoku today.
He's going full Njoku.
Yep. I'm going full bird
Bird
up.
up.
Eagle up.
Eagle
Eagles
up.
win.
Eagle up,
Eagles
yeah.
win outright. It's
Yeah.
2.5-point dogs. against the Bengals, I'm with you. I don't understand why they're 2.5-point dogs. I think these teams are dead. Even made the Eagles even slightly better. Bengals a little banged up as well. So Eagles
maybe
win.
T. Higgins is going to be a game time decision.
He's inactive.
Might not, he's
Yeah,
officially
out.
inactive.
Yeah,
It just
yeah.
came out. Okay,
Yeah.
so there you go. It's crazy. I'm going to bet that too.
Yeah.
Go to commercial break while I bet.
All right, I'm going to be quick. My
Take a
last
while.
shot here, Javonte Williams, top 10 fantasy running back this week. We talk about Carolina's defense every week. They're the worst run defense. They allow the most fantasy points to running back. And Javonte Williams coming off a running back 5 week in fantasy. So give me him to be a top 10 guy again.
Okay, I like it. Question, is Jameis Winston a fan of the show? Is he a friend of the show? Is
Not
he
yet.
watching?
He about to be.
Yeah,
Okay,
he's
I don't
about
know
to
if
be,
I don't know if
exactly
he's
right.
about to be because I think he's going to throw an interception. He doesn't want a reminder of the 30 interceptions back in 2019, known as a very aggressive quarterback. So my take is that he's going to throw an interception. I think you already said 2.
Yeah, at least. I mean, like, it's the Jameis experience. We're getting the full Jameis today. We're getting the full
And we
Jameis.
like it. So that's my
All
my
right.
shot for shot.
Fair enough.
All right, there we go. Break time.
We should have.
Wow.
Oh, look at Amon Ra.
Oh,
Okay.
Amon-Ra and Jahmyr Gibbs
Wow. It's like
bringing out the Marvel Universe.
Right.
It's like the Travis Hunter last night.
Yeah.
Sally.
I like it.
Oh, he's got the moves too.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Throwing the web out there.
All right.
Right.
Going to break. When we come back, we'll talk about all the inactives. Stick with us. Fantasy Football Pregame. A big rivalry game with big implications in the NFC. It's Niners Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. Coverage starts at 7 p.m. Eastern, only on NBC and Peacock. It is National Tight Ends Day. Baltimore
Yeah.
Ravens showing us Mark Andrews getting
And
primed
he's got
and
a
ready.
good butt. Look at that. Like you're just saying, right? That's
That's not where I thought the comment was going.
We're going to leave that to you.
all right. Am I wrong?
No.
Anyone wants to disagree with me? Thank you, Britt. I'm just saying. Let's go, Mark Andrews. There we go.
I mean, there,
at him.
he work out.
He
A
is.
little over an hour away from kickoff as they face off against the Browns. Okay, notable Week 8 injury updates, and we did have a lot of updates in terms of questionable versus out. Will Levis, Travis Etienne is out. T. Higgins, Alan Lazard as well.
Officially, yeah. So yeah, it should be the Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams show for Aaron Rodgers. Dearness Johnson rides again in what should be negative game script. You still like to take Bigsby over him, but Dearness Johnson should get some more work for the Jaguars as well. Zay Flowers being active is good, but you still think Rashad Bateman might get a little bit more look as well. With T. Higgins out, maybe Andre Yoshevich becomes suddenly interesting if you're desperate. But we have some other desperation plays as well. It's worth noting that the 2 games that Higgins missed, Yoshevich averaged over 10 fantasy points per game and had a 16% target share.
All right, late games injury updates. Obviously, quite a few questionable still. Jaden Daniels expected to play. In terms of doubtful, Derek Carr, Andy Dalton, and DK Metcalf, and Jonathan Brooks is officially out. Deebo Samuel, how concerned are we? Obviously, the wrist, he was in the hospital with pneumonia, is expected to play, but in terms of if you have him, how concerned are you?
Listen, anytime, like he started last week and then left after like 3 plays, and he missed the first couple days with pneumonia, practice this week. So you can't feel 100% confident. Having said that, I think the fact that he practiced towards the end of the week, the fact that this is such an important game, feels like he's going to be out there. I think his receiving prop on DraftKings is 4.5 receptions, 55 receiving yards. Like, first off, I like the over certainly on, but either way, like it just feels like okay. Like if he got 9.5, 10 points with a shot at a touchdown, that's definitely usable. And again, I think his numbers without Ayuk in the lineup are really, really strong.
Yeah,
so
he's the number 1 option for Brock Purdy going up against a suspect defense. So
Yes.
I think he's just auto start.
So then, would you tell Henry to go with Deebo?
I would over Zay Flowers, who's also dealing with that ankle. McLaurin, who's going to see some Jalen Johnson against your Bears that you'll be rooting for from Japan next week.
But then you're going to have George back, and I know that he liked the fact that I went with the Bears because of Caleb.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do?
I know, I get it, and you guys probably both have the same nail polish, and I understand.
You going to come out one of them videos from Tokyo too, like George just did?
Sure.
Yeah.
We going to need,
More likely from San Diego. Can you send me there? Because I'm already going.
Sure.
do it for
Sure.
now.
Sure. I don't care where you are. Yeah, by all means, knock yourself out. Go to San Diego. Whatever. Does the fiance get to go with you on these trips or no?
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes.
But no, he's actually flying back. We're, ships passing in the night, essentially.
I understand. So he's angry with you too. I get it.
Probably.
All right, fair enough.
My
All
dog
right,
is
yes,
as well,
Deebo.
jeez.
Henry, the answer is Deebo.
Okay, top running back waiver ads available in over 50% of the league. So what do we do here? You had mentioned earlier Tyler Algier, Jaleel McLaughlin. Who would we add in terms of this list if we could?
Listen, I think it depends on what you need. You heard Jay talk about Tyler Algier a little bit earlier as well. I will say that game script, I like Jalen Warren the most just talent-wise of all the guys on this list as well. 14 touches last week, played 50% of the snaps, both season high as he's getting more and more healthy. Arthur Smith likes to use multiple running backs. Russell Wilson being under center gives a sense of there's a floor at least now to this offense, right? And because he doesn't run, it means Smith, who does want to run, they're going to lean more on Najee Harris and Jalen Warren. Jaleel McLaughlin, if you're truly desperate, it's worth noting that the Panthers have allowed at least 10 fantasy points to multiple running backs in 4 games this year. So, we think Javonte Williams is going to eat, but there's a chance that Jaleel McLaughlin does as well. So, just some thoughts there. And Hill's played at least 35% of the snaps in every game this year.
I'm sure probably a lot of people needing some wide receivers here, and a lot of names that you've already mentioned. Yosivach, Tillman, Pearsall.
I think the guy now is Andre Iguodala, given that he's going to be wide receiver 2 for Joe Burrow in a favorable matchup against an Eagles defense that I don't think scares anyone. Cedric Tillman has a lot of variance just because we haven't seen much of a sample of him in this offense with Jameis as his quarterback, Ricky Pearsall as well. I think he's going to step into that really wide receiver 2 role on the Niners. Keon Coleman not as interested in, and then Jalen McMillan as well. Probably long term, he has the best outlook of any of these guys, just given he has a legit chance to be a top 2 wide receiver in an offense that has been very good at scheming players open in Liam Cohen's system.
Okay, and what about quarterbacks and tight ends?
Yeah, look, we talked about Jameis a little bit already, but look, Bo Nix here going against the Panthers. Back-to-back weeks, he's had at least 60 rushing yards. So, I mean,
no love for the Panthers in this table.
And I don't know.
Because we've watched them play football.
Yeah,
right?
and look, the Broncos should get more opportunities on offense because there's not really much confidence right now that the Panthers could keep moving the chain. So, Bo Nix showing the rushing upside the past couple of weeks, showing that he could get on the move, find the open guy. So, he's a decent streamer if you're desperate as well.
What about desperation plays in Week 8? Each of you gave us one, so what does that mean? It's available in over 80% of the leagues. Matthew, what'd you do?
Yeah, well, I went with Troy Franklin, and by the way, I'm not just recommending him. I'm so desperate in the League of Assholes. I'm starting Troy Franklin. Listen, no Mike Evans, no Rashee Rice. Like I've lost a lot of dudes so far. So Troy Franklin now has back-to-back games with at least 10 fantasy points. He had a 24% target share. Bo Nix's college teammate seems to be coming into this offense. His snaps and routes run are increasing every week, and of course, you love the matchup at home against Carolina.
Yep. I went with Cedric Tillman, just as I
Yes.
mentioned before. I think
Great
when
call.
you are looking for long shots, you want variance. Cedric Tillman is the personification of that. We just don't know what this offense is going to look like.
Yeah, for me, I'm going Alec Pierce against Houston Week 1. 3 targets, 3 catches, 125 in a TD. Houston is banged up in the defensive backfield. And if you look at Week 7, he only caught 2 passes for 15 yards, but he dropped a 22-yard play, and he had a 28-yard reception negated by the penalty. So he left something on the board. I expect Richardson to try to find him deep.
Okay, I'm sold. You know what that means. Twitter question, or X, whatever we're calling it these days.
Yep.
Hashtag FF Pregame. Should I start Bigsby, Chubb, MHJ, or Pearsall at flex, even if ETN is out? Well, he is. I lean towards Pearsall. I think my matchup calls for a risky but possibly rewarding move since Vikings D got him a whopping 1 point.
Yeah,
It's not great.
I would go Tank Bigsby. I think he's got the best chance at a touchdown here. The Packers have a really good defense. I get it, and game script could work him out of it. So again, it's a little bit risky, but we just don't know about Pearsall. We've talked about MHJ on the road at Miami as well. And again, as much as I don't like the Packers matchup, I definitely don't like the matchup against the Ravens for Nick Chubb. So Bigsby and Chubb are sort of similar in that they're early down backs that you need a touchdown. But I feel better about Bigsby than I do Chubb, who, it was his first game back and looked a little, sluggish, I guess. It was great to see him get into the end zone, but yeah, JD. Listen, it's your team, man. Your gut. If you feel like Pearsall, go with Pearsall. But you're asking our opinion. We feel Tank Bigsby.
I think as well, if you who's the most likely guy to go for 150 and 2 touchdowns? It might be Marvin Harrison Jr. Just given that he's had one of those games already back in Week 2 against the Rams.
Maybe
but I
the
think
panic
Bigsby
is dissipating with him.
And the argument for there with MHJ, if you want to go a little risk, maybe you're right. If you need to swing for the fences, to your point about MHJ, is that not only has he had one of those kind of games, but again, with Tyreek and Waddle and Tua back, we expect this game could be a little bit of a shootout.
Yeah.
And so they may need to be throwing quite a bit.
Yeah. At the same time, look, Bigsby is the guy who has the most chance of scoring multiple touchdowns, I think, pretty clearly.
Yeah.
Who has the best chance of getting the football actually through one of those rings today?
Go ahead.
None of us did
You know what
it
we're gonna
last
do?
time.
Hey, by the way, you know what we're gonna do next week, Brittany, in honor of you, when we do shot for shot, they're gonna be sake. There'll be shots of sake in honor for you.
That sounds good.
You'll be in Japan.
Start us off, Matthew.
Chilled?
Yeah.
Chilled.
Chilled, sure, you bet. Anything for you.
Prop a shot time presented by
No,
Oh,
Broken.
That's amazing.
Oh,
you hit?
broken.
Wait,
Who did I break?
Is
Who
that
was that?
Patrick
I think you
Mahomes?
just killed Patrick
I
Mahomes.
just killed Patrick
Oh,
Mahomes.
man, that's either really good or really
Not
bad.
good.
Michael Myers was
All
good.
right,
That
it was
ain't
asked
good.
earlier. Start or sit Patrick Mahomes. Definitely.
We got one today. All right.
Okay, wait.
That's so terrible.
That is so bad.
You knocked
I mean, the
Patrick.
head and everything.
Matthew Berry has knocked off Patrick
Oh.
Mahomes' head, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Well,
Sorry,
you're not
Patrick.
starting him
Why'd
today.
you do it?
God.
Is
I
that
mean, is there
is
any
that a
hope?
voodoo doll?
I'm just,
I hope not.
I just, That's literally the worst. I think that's the worst throw in the history of the show.
Yeah.
I don't know what
I just
happened.
don't like the fact that you're not Patrick Mahomes' head off. Like,
killed
I
it.
know.
We could
Killed
rewind
the
the show and
three-time
show it
Super
one
Bowl
more
MVP.
time.
Oh my God, that was brutal. I mean, like, it was just, that was awful. I'm usually pretty good at
Oh,
this.
no, this
I
could
mean,
be
like,
fixed.
I'm usually not that bad. How about that?
Yeah, I'll accept
I'm usually not that bad.
Can we just show everyone what
Yeah,
happened
it's
to
awful.
Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah, no, look, he's
Three separate pieces.
yeah, three
It's
separate
not.
pieces.
Oh, and his foot's still.
I know.
Oh,
Here,
dear.
can you, Brittany,
Yeah,
here,
sure.
give it some love.
Got it.
Give it,
Okay.
some sort of,
Oh, wow. Yeah, add him to the injury report.
Add
no,
him to the
not
injury
really.
report, yeah.
This is just the bobblehead.
Yeah.
I don't really know how you fix that, actually. Okay.
All right, we'll figure it out.
Time
We'll send it to the
for
craft.
Prop-a-Shot, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook.
Nowhere to go but up.
Yeah, no kidding. Jay, well, we were talking about, Matthew was just talking about Nick Chubb. It was great to have him back. You
Yes.
know, lots of morale. But in terms of rushing yards, over under 47.5.
So I'm going to go under, unfortunately. Pains me to do so, but elite rushing defense that the Ravens have. I think that the Browns are going to need to throw in the ball as more than touchdown underdogs.
Okay. Lawrence, what about Sam Laporta? Are we going to see a big game from him? Over under 33.5 receiving yards.
hey, look, this is risky. I'm still going over, though. He hit this number 3 of his last 4 games, and the Titans defense has allowed this in 2 straight games. One of those tight ends was Mo Alley Cox. Sam Laporta, he gets it done.
All right. Matthew, Trevor Lawrence, we know he's got great hair. Is he going to have a great game?
No.
237.5.
No.
I'm taking the under on 237 passing yards. He's gone over this number literally once in 7 games. That was week 5 against the Colts. The last 2 quarterbacks to face Green Bay did not hit this number, and that was C.J. Stroud and Kyler Murray, and I don't think Trevor Lawrence is playing as well as either one of those guys. Give me the under on 237.5.
Anthony Richardson in his second game back. We know Jonathan Taylor is back as well, but in terms of him, over under 7.5 rushing attempts.
Going to go over 7.5. You had 14 last week. Texans talked about this on Friday's show. Texans play a ton of man coverage that lends itself more to quarterbacks taking the ball and running. So I think he goes over 7.5 rushing attempts.
All right, Lawrence, what about Garrett Wilson here? Over under 4.5 receptions.
Yeah, I'm going to go over. He's had 5 receptions in 5 straight games, including the first one with Devontae Adams. So he had a 23% target share. No Alan Lazard. That's Aaron Rodgers' buddy. So, yeah, give me the over here.
Over 5.5. That was my bad. Matthew,
I'm still going over.
You're still going
Yes.
over. Still
Yeah.
going over. Saquon Barkley. Big game against his former team last week. This week, 97.5 rushing and receiving yards. What would you do? Over under?
I'm taking the over. Look, he's gone over this number in 5 of 6 games this year. Literally one game. There's only one game where he hasn't hit this number. And the Bengals have allowed 4 different running backs to go over this number. Again, we've talked about this. We like the Eagles to win this game outright. I definitely like them plus 2.5. Saquon's going to be a big part of that. Give me the over 97.5 rushing and receiving yards.
Tyreek Hill, he's got his man back to us. And he said, fantasy owners, please start me. Over under, though, 27.5 yards for the longest reception.
Over, because America requires it. I think that Tua will look for Tyreek deep at least once against an Arizona secondary that doesn't really scare anyone.
Lawrence, what do we do with Bijan Robinson here? 65.5 rushing yards. You take the over or under?
I think he'll still have a good fantasy day. I'm going to go under, though. Tampa Bay better against the run than they are the pass. He had 61 yards against them the last game, and it took to the 4th quarter getting a 28-yard run, so it'll be tough. I'm going to go under here.
Okay. Matthew, you were talking about Amari Cooper earlier.
I was.
Second game, what do we expect? A bigger game for him? 54.5 receiving yards, over under?
I mean, he got 66 yards on 12 routes last week. So, yeah, I'm taking the over here. Seattle's allowed a wide receiver to go over this number in 4 straight games. So I think Amari Cooper's got the best chance to be the number 1 wide receiver another week into the system at Buffalo. Give me the over on 54.5 receiving yards for Amari Cooper.
All right, as the Chiefs take on the Raiders, Travis Kelce, over under 5.5 receptions. Taylor Swift not in attendance.
Not in attendance, thus the under is my bet. I just think that the Chiefs, as effectively double-digit favorites, I just don't think they're going to need to throw that much, and they'll spread it out a lot.
Okay, big game here for Brock Purdy, over under. Oh yeah, that's why. Wait for the. There we go.
Sad Patrick.
Poor guy. Brock Purdy, over under 31.5 passing attempts. Lawrence.
Yeah, first off, I think Dallas has got a shot. But I'm going to pick the Niners to win. Nice little hedge there. Look, Purdy only throws for 30 or more attempts when the Niners lose. So when they win, he throws under 30 passing attempts. So I'm going to go under here.
Last but surely not least, Matthew, what are we doing with Caleb Williams?
Yeah, your guy.
My guy.
Yeah, I'm taking
234.5.
Yeah, I'm taking the under here, Britt. Look, He's gone over this number.
Wow.
Yeah,
Against your
he's
team.
gone over this number literally twice this season. That's it. He's gone over this number only twice. Washington has allowed a quarterback to go over this number only once in the last 4 games. That was Lamar Jackson. I think Jaden Daniels is going to play in this game, so I think you'll have more sustained drives from Washington. I think it's going to be a close one. As you said, currently Commanders favored by 1. That line's been going back and forth. Should be a fairly close game. I don't think it's going to be a big shootout. I expect DeAndre Swift to have a big role here, taking the under on 234.5 passing yards for Caleb Williams.
Can intently watch this game.
Yes.
That was our prop shot presented by DraftKings. DraftKings Sportsbook is the #1 place to bet touchdowns, and new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the app and use the promo code Barry when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook.
The
crown is yours.
Woo!
Guys, that was beautiful. You know what else is beautiful? Trevor Lawrence and his hair. Warming up, Jags facing off against the Packers in about an hour. We'll be back.
I am jealous of his hair. It is long and luxurious.
Hey folks, Denny Carter here from Rotoworld, bringing you not one, but 2 good, viable kicker options off the waiver wire this week. Some are calling them the best possible options. We're going to start with Cameron Dicker, the Chargers kicker, who is about 50% rostered in fantasy leagues. Get him if you can. He's taking on the Saints this week. The Saints allowed the 3rd most fantasy points to kickers this season. Cameron Dicker, 8 field goal attempts. He's made all of them over the past 2 weeks. He's a great play against New Orleans. But the crowning jewel, some would say, of kicker waiver wires this week, maybe of this season, is Will Lutz, the Broncos kicker. who gets a matchup against the Carolina Panthers, allowing the second most fantasy points to kickers this season. Get this, 5 of the 7 kickers to face the Panthers this season have multiple field goal attempts. Will Lutz is a must play off the waiver wire against the Panthers. Pick him up.
Well, there you go. Thank you, Denny. Will Lutz, a must play. And what about this ride or die?
Here on business.
Yeah. I like the pants.
Yeah, I don't think that's a color found in nature, but he looks good.
Salmon or pink? Which direction do you go?
Maybe it's salmon. I don't know. I'm sort of colorblind.
I like it.
Them the same color pants I wore to Connor Rogers' wedding.
That's a good point. This is true. And you did look sharp at Connor Rogers' wedding.
Yeah.
Did I stand out? I don't know.
Sharp.
He looked sharp.
But it felt good.
That's all that matters.
I mean, Lawrence and I got down on the dance floor together.
Feel good, play good.
We did.
Yeah.
The media don't want people to know that.
No, they don't.
Dive into the top 10 quarterback rankings. Matthew, who jumps off the page for you here?
How about Jordan Love coming in at QB4 for me? He's had multiple touchdown passes in every game this year, and it's Jacksonville. The only quarterback that didn't score at least 18 fantasy points against Jacksonville, Deshaun Watson. So just, even though he's out for the year, he can still catch a few strays. Anyway, Jordan Love, top 4 play this week. No team in the NFL has given up more passing yards per game over the last 4 weeks than your Jacksonville Jaguars.
All right, looking to stay hot. What about Kyler Murray? We just saw him looking sharp.
Looking sharp. It feels like he's had an underwhelming season, but he's still QB7 on the season and 7th in Matthew's rankings. I think the thing with Kyler is that he's always going to have a high floor because of the rushing upside, and he has had these massive rushing plays in recent weeks, but it just doesn't feel like he's on the same page with his receivers at the moment, particularly Marvin Harrison Jr. You suspect that should get better as the season progresses. He's a must-start every week, and I still think there's more ceiling to be found in Kyler Murray, even if it's been a little bit rough from a passing perspective so far.
Okay, let's move a little deeper into the quarterback rankings. 11 through 20. Matthew, the Texans face off against the Colts. CJ Stroud. Where did he put it? 12th on your list right now?
He is. You read it right there on your screen. You're absolutely right, Brittany. He is QB 12 for me. I know he was disappointing last week, but you know what happens this week? He gets the Colts. Horse down, Lawrence. Horse down. Every quarterback that has thrown at least 30 passes against Indianapolis has scored 17 fantasy points, and that includes CJ Stroud in week number 1. He's averaging 312 passing yards per game at home this season. The game is at NRG Stadium in Houston, Texas. Regardless of whether you think the Colts win outright, maybe they do, maybe they don't. Either way, game script should work here for Stroud to pick apart the Colts. I think he's a top 12 play for me.
Morris, what about you? Are we line up?
Fur up.
That doesn't really work, does it?
I think they be saying like one pride or something.
Yeah.
But Jared Goff here going against the top defense in the league in the Titans, and this is a legit defense, both versus the run and versus the pass. But the thing about this is the Lions are 12.5-point favorites. That number went up from 11.5. So you can't expect Goff could have a solid day, but it won't be like last week against the Vikings. But they'll get enough opportunities because the Titans have the second fewest first downs in the NFL. They have the 4th worst third down percentage. So Detroit's going to have the ball a lot. So he can give you a solid day, I think. That's why you got him ranked there at 16. So that sounds like 220 passing yards, touchdown or 2 here, no turnovers. So just temper the expectations a little bit for Jared Goff.
Took the words right out of my mouth. All right, turn our attention to the running backs 1 through 10 rankings here. Kenneth Walker, he had a touchdown on his birthday. And get this, was playing through an illness. You wouldn't have known, though. So what do we make for him in week 8?
Wheels up for KW3, as I call him. Running backs that have seen at least 15 touches against the Buffalo Bills are averaging over 20 fantasy points per game. Brittany. They're also, by the way, the Bills, bottom 3 in terms of receptions, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns allowed to running backs. Why do I bring that up? Because 40% of Ken Walker's points this year have come from receiving. They use him a lot in the passing game. We expect this to be a high-scoring game. Ken Walker, a easy top 6 play for me this week.
Kareem Hunt came through for me in our parlay last week.
Yes, he did.
Top 10 running back, 9th here for Matthew's rankings. Lawrence, what do we see?
Well, you got him ranked at 9th. He's been running back 9 in fantasy points per game since he's become a Chief. Now he's going against these Raiders who allow the 9th most fantasy points per game, 2 running backs. And you talk about guys who are most likely to score touchdowns. Kareem Hunt is moving up that list with those other guys like Montgomery and Henry.
For sure.
I like that. All right, moving down, 11 through 20 for the running backs here. Javonte Williams, Broncos versus Panthers this week, and he's coming off the best game of his season, arguably.
He really did, Brittany. Look, and the workload's been there, right? 17 or more touches in 3 of the past 4 games. He's had 6 straight games with a double-digit target share because Bo Nix can do 2 things. He can run and he can dump off and he'll throw to Troy Franklin. There you go. They definitely need that as well. But in all seriousness, Javonte Williams is getting the workload, and I actually think the rushing ability of Bo Nix has opened things up for the run game of the Broncos because now you're having to keep a linebacker, a spy sort of on Bo Nix as well, so that's opened up some running lanes. And because of the workload, the reason I mentioned the workload, the 17 touches in 3 of the past 4 games for Javonte Williams, well, 7 of the 8 running backs that have faced the Carolina Panthers and gotten at least 15 touches, they scored at least 17 fantasy points. So, they're double-digit favorites at home in this one. So, Javonte Williams, top 20 play for me this week.
Okay, Jay, we were talking for the Niners, just the injuries that they've had and who else is going to get looks, touches. Jordan Mason, what do you make of him this week?
I think he'll be a monster. He's set at 79.5 rushing yards on DraftKings. He's minus 180 anytime touchdown scorer. You put that together, if he's going to score a touchdown and get 80-plus rushing yards, that's a pretty high floor for a fantasy day. And this Cowboys rush defense, it just has nothing. They've shown nothing all season, and I think that the Niners will be able to run all over them, and Mason will benefit.
There you go.
Agreed.
I think we got a question coming in. There it is. Premonition. All right, tight end Kelsey or Ingram, flex, Kamara, Mason, Wilson, or Neighbors. John from Comic Avalon?
Yeah.
Comic Avalon, sure.
Makes me a Comic-Con.
I'm going to say, first off, I think the easy one is Evan Ingram. He's been terrific. In every game he's been healthy. Game script should work in his favor, obviously, with the Jaguars, underdogs, the Packers as well. We talked about it. I mean, Travis Kelce, it's gotten a little bit better, but we think, this is a big Kareem Hunt game, the defensive game. So I'm going to go with Evan Ingram over Kelce there. And I think Mason has a really nice game here, but for me, I'm going Malik Neighbors. Just massive volume. You never know the Cowboys could, show up tonight as well. Malik Neighbors against Pittsburgh, just, massive target share and good game script for him on the road at Pittsburgh on Monday night. I always like having guys going on Monday night too, if it's a toss-up for me. Just because it's like, if everything else goes to crap, at least I still have hope for a Monday night miracle. I can be like, well, if Malik Neighbors goes for 120 and 2 touchdowns, I'm back in this thing. So anyway.
Still have Monday.
Yeah.
Do note, Travis Etienne out, so that's why you see it highlighted, but still within the rankings there, because that was the latest update in terms of inactive. So running back rankings 21 through 30 now. Jaylen Warren, more involved. Are we going to see more of the same this week?
I think so. I mean, again, we talked about this before, but last week, 14 touches, 50% of the snaps. Those are both season highs. We know that Arthur Smith wants to run the ball and get his pass catch, his running backs involved in a big way. Russell Wilson isn't scared to dump off to the running back. Justin Fields is when Justin Fields is under pressure, he's likely to duck it and run. When Russell Wilson is under pressure, he's likely to dump off to Jaylen Warren. We saw that some last night. It's worth noting the Giants give up 5.3 yards per carry to opposing running backs. That's second most in the NFL, guys. So, yeah, Jaylen Warren comes in at running back 27 for me.
I had really high hopes for Tony Pollard last week. Maybe too high of hopes.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably there. Week 8, Lawrence, what are your expectations?
Yeah, well, don't have high hopes this time.
Okay,
At
great.
least temper the expectations. Like you said, it was a tough week for him last week. He was only running back 31, but now going up against these Lions who have a top 5 run defense. Mentioned it earlier, they're 12.5-point underdogs, so not going to be much running. You probably hope he gets some dump offs, but it's going to be tough going for him today. You either hope for some receptions or a breakaway run or something.
No
It
Tajay
was my
Spears
shot for
helps.
shot. I said 100-plus yards. What'd you say? I'm sorry, Jay?
No Tajay Spears will help.
Yeah.
He didn't play last week either.
Yep.
So it was,
Which
That's
didn't
where
help.
the expectation was. All right, Justin, what do you got for us here? Better flex and standard scoring, Pollard or Thomas Jr.?
And here we go.
I just heard my guy Lawrence Jackson,
Yeah.
Hollywood, some people call him Mouse Jackson over here, saying bad things about Tony Pollard. I haven't heard anyone ever say anything bad about Brian Thomas Jr. He's been nothing short of phenomenal this entire year. Negative game script for the Jags on the road at Green Bay. Give me Brian Thomas Jr.
catches a big pass every game.
Every single game. He's unbelievable.
Yeah.
He's, shout out to Chris Sims, by the way, who had Brian Thomas Jr. In the preseason, had him ranked as a rookie higher than Marvin Harrison Jr.
Wouldn't write him off for Offensive Rookie of the Year entirely. He's like 20-1, which is a little high. Caleb's lit up bad defenses. Jaden Daniels
What would you
injury
take
risk.
him at?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he should be more like 13-1. I don't think it's a huge edge, but 20-1 is a little bit too big.
Top 10 wide receiver rankings. You had mentioned Drake London already today, had 154 yards in the first matchup with the Bucks.
Yeah.
What would you anticipate round 2?
Yeah, a big game for, again, my buddy, Detective Drake London. I think he says bird up from the podium today. I believe in it. I gave this stat out earlier, but again, the Buccaneers have allowed at least one touchdown to a wide receiver in every single game this year, at least one. And so, Drake London would be the most obvious choice to be the wide receiver to catch that touchdown against the Buccaneers. They allow the third most yards per game to the slot. We talked when I spoke to Drake London on this show, on Fantasy Football Happy Hour, I should say. He talked about all the usage he's been getting in the slot. It's been increasing every single week. Since week 3, in fact, 60% of London's targets have come in the slot. So, he's a top 4 wide receiver for me today.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, not too far
Speaking
below.
of a slot merchant.
Drake London.
One of the great slot merchants of our time, perhaps the definitive slot merchant, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think there was some concerns about him after a bit of a slow start. I think he addressed a lot of those on the field with that performance against the Vikings, where he was 8 for 112 and a touchdown. Amon-Ra St. Brown's going to be fine. I think it was just weird game script, some weird games early in the season for the Lions, but the level that Jared Goff is playing at, Amon-Ra St. Brown, I still think he's pretty safe. Top 6, top 7 wide receiver rest of the way.
Okay, next away, 11 through 20 here. Jaden Reed had a quiet game last week. What do you anticipate? Can he bounce back off of that?
I do think he will.
Jags.
Look, again, he lines up in the slot. Yes, it was a big Romeo Doubs game last week, and Reed, had the hot start to the season. He's slowed down a little bit, but still, Jags have allowed at least one touchdown to the slot in 5 straight games, which is obviously where Jaden Reed runs the majority of his routes. They've allowed the second most yards after the catch to wide receivers. Reed, by the way, top 5 among all wide receivers in yards after the catch per reception. So if he can get some looks, and this is where they struggle, the middle of the field, I think Jaden Reed is going to take it and potentially get to the house. Either way, he's my wide receiver 13 today.
All right, wide receiver 11, DJ Moore. Lawrence, what do we make of him?
As the Bears' offense has gotten better, that connection between Caleb Williams and DJ Moore has as well. He scored 3 touchdowns in his last 3 games. The Commanders' defense has played a hell of a lot better this season, and they've gotten better every week. They still allow the 6th most points to fantasy receivers. The only worry about DJ Moore is that Keenan Allen is starting to get going too. Rome Odunze still in there, but DJ Moore still safely the Bears' number 1 option in the receiving game.
Okay, 20 yards for Moore last week.
Yep.
Ooh. Favorite part of the show for me, just that ding. Pavlov's dog. Help me chat. Neighbors versus tough Steelers D, or Reed versus weak Jags D.
Yeah.
Big Papa?
Yeah, Big Papa.
Yeah, Big Papa 76.
I love it when you call me Big Papa.
Yeah.
Just throw your hands in the air.
Yeah.
Well done by both of you. I'm going to say Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, Brittany. Yeah.
Yeah. Both guys, I mean, listen.
Music's not my thing.
I don't think you can screw it up, Big Papa, just again, because I like both guys as top 13 plays, but I'm going to go with Malik Neighbors. Again, just less target competition. There's always the worry about Josh Jacobs or Romeo Doubs or Dontavian Wicks or Christian Watson. Whereas with Malik Neighbors, it's just sort of like, it's him. Yeah. I mean, Wan'Dale Robinson a little bit and Tyrone Tracy, whatever. But yeah, Malik Neighbors for me, guys.
I gotta say, I gave you a hard time for your movie choices last week. Music, though, on point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, and also that song covered magnificently in the great film Hardball, starring Keanu Reeves in 2001. One of the great films of all time. I'll take Hardball over Big Daddy or any of those Sandler films.
I've never even
You
seen
gave him
Hardball.
a compliment on the movies.
I'm
sorry, on the music.
On the music,
he brought it right back to the movies.
He did. He did, and I don't agree there, though. I do like Keanu Reeves. It could be a
What
little bit of
what
a
is
controversial.
Hardball about? I've never even heard of Hardball.
All right, so you want to know what Hardball's about?
Goodness.
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves has a problem, and to pay off his problem, he has to coach a Little League baseball team in Chicago, and then he gets very close with the Little League team, and then it's a whole big thing. There's a tragedy at some point, which still breaks me up. But anyway, Keanu, it's one of his great performances. It's like an all-time Keanu performance. I recommend Hardball to everyone. Yeah.
So it's like the Mighty Ducks, but baseball.
Yes.
I guess so,
Yes.
right? Yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah. It's great.
Okay.
Little Sandlot feel
Yeah.
to it.
Keanu has two modes where it's either like, all right, I'm going to be super wooden and just cool Keanu like the Matrix, or he has the other mode where he like really tries to act and gets really emotional. This is the latter, but it's actually really good. It's like,
Interesting, because I prefer wooden kicking ass Keanu.
yeah, this is not that.
John
but-
Wick.
Or John.
Right?
Oh, all the John Wicks are
Never seen
amazing.
it.
Oh.
I know. I'm already going to Tokyo.
That's a good
it's
point.
fine.
But you know what? It's a long flight. How about watching them on the flight,
Okay.
Britt?
How many
and
are there, 12
send
by now?
and send
There's,
a
Probably.
report
Yeah.
back to us, a movie report as well.
Favorite John Wick.
Also, you know what? I mean, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Oh,
One of the all-time greats.
magnificent.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
for Keanu Reeves.
No, Hardball it's full Keanu. There's no
is
half
full-
Keanu.
Okay.
There's one scene where he's in a fight with someone, and then he decides as he's losing the fight, he goes, "You guys want to kick my ass? No one kicks my ass better than I kick my ass." Then he just throws his head into the wall to knock himself out. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Wow.
Full Keanu.
Full
I
Keanu.
appreciated your impression. You
That's
you
not
really
bad.
went for it. It wasn't bad at all.
No.
All right, getting back to the wide receivers, 21 through 30 here. Jackson, Smith, and the Jigba. DK
Yeah.
Metcalf, not expected. We already said.
Well, DK Metcalf, he's going to be a game time decision.
Right.
We'll see. Maybe he might be out there as a decoy. We'll see. We're not really sure yet. He's going to try to give it a go. One of the toughest players in the NFL, but it's a 4:00 game, so we don't know yet, and there is a chance he misses. Either way, we hope for more looks towards JSN against the Bills, as teams facing Buffalo this year are averaging the 4th most slot targets per year. That is a place to attack the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, JSN, that's where he runs a lot of his routes. He's got 4 different games this year with at least 7 targets, and Jackson Smith and Jigba is averaging 15.1 fantasy points per game in said game. So with DK Metcalf either out or limited, he should get to those 7 targets, and man, do I need him against Connor Rogers today. Yeah, you let me listen, JSN, you let me down against effing grape slapper over here, so I need you to at least help me defeat stupid Connor Rogers.
Stupid Connor.
He's already been messaging you.
I know.
Right?
It's
Yeah,
he's
Lions
blowing
fan
us up.
222.
Yeah.
Okay. Uncle Lynn's, hashtag FF pregame full PPR, needs some flex advice. Lockett, Shakir, or Pearsall. What do we do?
Jay, I think this is your guy. I think it's Taylor.
I think it's Tyler Lockett. I think by
There's a lot of
margin as
sighing
well.
at the
He
table
looks
here.
like he's going to be the number one option
Yeah.
for Geno Smith in an offense where they throw the ball a ton and
Right.
they're underdogs at home against the Bills secondary, which doesn't really scare anyone.
No.
So I think that it's pretty clearly Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, I agree with that. Call. It'd be
Lawrence?
Lockett for me.
What are you thinking?
Me 3.
Me? Oh, okay.
I have
Consensus.
I have a user question, listener question from myself to the table. Should I start Tyler Lockett over Marvin Harrison Jr. in the League of Arseholes? I think I'm going to.
Well, I think I'd still probably go with
Who you
MHJ.
playing against?
Producer Steven, who's like mid.
Yeah, he already he used all of his luck last week to barely, come close to me.
Yeah.
It wasn't
It's
until
fine.
Yeah,
He's like if he was an NFL team, he'd be a 7-10 type of
yeah,
operation.
exactly.
Yeah.
His pro team is the Jaguars, and
Yes.
so Producer
Kind of
Steven
manifests
is
itself
a
into
little
his
bit,
fantasy team.
a little bit.
MHJ has to bounce back, though. I couldn't believe when I was looking
I
at
get,
these stats.
I get it. I think I'd probably still go MHJ, but I will say this. To your point, you're favored against him. You have a better team than he does. Lockett probably feels like more of the floor play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That because MHJ could, if he does 3 for 40, that's not going to shock anyone. Just
No.
because again, if Jalen Ramsey shuts him down, if Kyler,
And also 120 and 2 wouldn't shock anyone either.
That's exactly.
Whereas
So,
I
but-
feel like Tyler Lockett is just going to be 6 for 69.
Yeah,
exactly.
And that'll get you 12 points. All right, look.
Yeah.
Start Marvin Harrison Jr. and just trade me Lockett now on the show.
Yeah, you need
I need a
Tyler.
flex, or it's going to be Sterling Shepard.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm starting Jalen McMillan and Bucky Irving in this damn league. So I mean, it's
Desperation plays are starting.
Oh my God!
All right, back to
and
the
Troy
wide
Franklin. I'm
receivers.
starting Troy Franklin. I'm literally
tough.
starting my own desperation. That's how desperate between injuries and it's awful. It's awful. It's
I'll
illegal.
go MHJ.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
Or trade me MHJ. I'll give you
you
Troy
can't
Franklin
have it.
for him right now.
You
No, I'm just saying. I think because you have the better team in our league, this floor play with Lockett makes sense.
Yep.
But MHJ I have ranked high.
Who is winning in your league?
Stupid Dev is.
I have the most points. That's
Yeah.
fine. By record, technically, Stupid Dev has more wins.
Stupid Dev is in first. Jay is in second. I'm in fourth or third. I'm in fourth, and I think backup producer Pete is in third. I'm also the defending champ, NBD. Just saying.
You did say that.
I'm just saying.
There was an
know,
argument
NBD.
about something else in terms of your defense.
Brittany was about to say, you did. She was about to say, I did hear you say that about 10 times. That's what you
so
wanted
I don't know
to
what
say,
to believe now. Darnell Mooney.
Yeah.
Lawrence lost service on our call earlier when that name was mentioned. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, well, it's because, Darnell goes, we'll see if he goes full Mooney today.
Yeah.
What was George's
The
stupid
Moon
thing?
Man.
The Moon Man?
Yeah.
Such a stupid nickname. That's why George is in Tokyo right
Correct.
now. Because that cannot be said in North America. So with Darnell Mooney, last time he played the Bucks, he had 16 targets. It's completely insane. He had 16 targets. He had 9 for 105, 2 touchdowns. By the way, he dropped another 40-yarder, which could have been a touchdown. Darnell Mooney could have gone for 150 and 3 against the Bucks, and so it's a very favorable matchup. Now, they didn't have Antoine Winfield that day. I'm not sure it really matters with how broken this Bucks pass defense is. So I think Darnell Mooney is very viable as a low-end wide receiver, maybe just a wide receiver 2 type of character today.
But not a viable.
No, by the way, the Buccaneers are one of the league leaders in terms of most deep passing receptions allowed, and obviously Darnell Mooney is one of the guys that gets a lot of deep targets down the field. So I could easily see Darnell Mooney getting deep for 1.
The Bucks have had 2 different quarterbacks throw 5 touchdowns against them this season. So, and they weren't good last year as a pass defense either. So, despite Antoine Winfield being one of the best safeties in the game, he's got nothing around him.
Going even deeper into the wide receiver rankings, might need to with the injuries. 31 through 40 for Week 8. Michael Pittman, he missed Wednesday, played practice, I should say, Thursday, missed Friday. What do you anticipate in Week 8?
Not great. Yeah. You see him there at 36. Look, here's his weekly finishes in Anthony Richardson's 4 starts. Wide receiver 53, wide receiver 51, wide receiver 46, Lawrence. And then, of course, when he boomed with wide receiver 30.
Why you say my name?
Yeah,
that's like that 50 Cent game. What you looking at me for?
Yeah, you love yourself some Anthony Richardson. And the fact of the matter is that so far this season, Anthony Richardson and Michael Pittman have not been a thing. He's caught just 57% of his targets from Richardson this year. That's Pittman. By the way, the Texans allow the 5th lowest catch rate to opposing wide receivers. He's never been a big touchdown scorer in his career. He's wide receiver 36 for me. He's a risky wide receiver 4 this week.
Lawrence, you had to make an adjustment. We were looking at 31 through 40. Now, Khalil Shakir.
Yeah, I'm going to say Khalil Shakir is a little less risk nonetheless, but probably less than Michael Pittman here. We saw a season-high 7 targets, season-high 7 catches for him. That was his best game since Baltimore in Week 4. So with Amari Cooper being there, Khalil Shakir doesn't lose his actual spot on the field. That's more so Keon Coleman or what's the other dude who don't wear shoes?
Well, MVS is gone.
Matt Collins, that guy.
Matt Collins is out there a lot.
He do cardio. Yeah. But Khalil Shakir, I think, he'll still have his role. Josh Allen trusts him, especially in that intermediate area of the field. So I think you'll see today what his actual role is now that we expect Cooper to play more snaps.
Made our way through the wide receivers. We'll get to the tight ends in just a bit. What do we have from you two? Mikey Omega. Barry pulled off the Cowboy getup better than Njoku.
Hashtag ooh la la. I like that, Mikey
One
Omega.
more time.
Here you go.
Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Feel free. On the death march.
That man's sore right there.
It was cold.
I also, yes.
Not for nothing. I'm going to be honest with you. The fur jacket was a little tight on me. To be honest with you, yeah.
This
a little
date
tight.
ain't big enough for the 2 of us. Well, it is for Njoku and Barry.
That's what full Njoku looks like. But I went full Barry. My wife wants full credit, by the way. She was texting me. She wants full credit for the outfit. Yes. She also wants everyone to know that my daughter Brooke bought me these kicks last year. She don't want people to think that she bought me last year's version this year.
Right.
But so it was.
But
those
go
go
anytime.
Beth coming in with the stat correction.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, of course. She doesn't care about my picks, but she was like, she's watching and she's just like, I want full credit for the outfit. It looked great. And by the way, yeah.
The outfit did look great.
Make sure everyone knows that Brooke did not buy you last year's sneakers. That it was a gift from the last year.
Was that getup already in the closet?
Oh, he had it laid out. He had it laid out for days on the bed.
Was it
just
purchased
out there.
after seeing Njoku last week?
No, that outfit was
shoes at the bottom of the bed, lining up with
morning. Yeah, it was all in the closet.
Oh, man, gotta love it. Okay, we take a look at the tight ends on National Tight End Day rankings 1 through 10 here, and who better to start off with, Matthew, than David Njoku.
You heard my shot for shot there. I think he finishes as a top 3 fantasy tight end, and I'm backing it up with my rankings where he comes in at number 2. Last 2 weeks, he's got a basic 30% target share. 30% of the targets. He led all tight ends with 14 targets in week 7. We think that Jameis Winston under center elevates this offense. And 3 of the 4 tight ends that have seen at least 7 targets against the Ravens this year have scored 15 or more fantasy points. Njoku, I think, is somebody that should have a big day here. And live at noon on the cock desperately needs Njoku to come through today in my matchup with Connor.
And that outfit. Kate Otten, do we expect him to step up with Evans and Godwin out?
We certainly do, Brittany. There's been a lot of chat about Jalen McMillan, Trey Palmer, Sterling Shepard, God forbid. The answer really is Kate Otten, who I think will be available in some leagues. And he is, I would just project him, even though he's playing, obviously, tight ends, which generally projects for worse than wide receiver, I'd project him to get more points than any of those guys. So he should be rostered everywhere, and he's going to be Baker Mayfield, I think, his number 1 target for the next couple of weeks.
All right, look forward. 11 through 20 here. So with Drake May finally giving the Patriots offense some life, is Hunter Henry a viable option this week?
I think he is. I think he's a top 12 plays you see there on my screen. I have him higher than Sam Laporta, just to give one random example. 25% target share in week 7. He's had 2 starts with Drake May, and he's averaging a 21% target share in those 2 starts. And in the 2 games in which Drake May has started, he's had at least 13 fantasy points in both, and he's averaging over 15 fantasy points per game. He had the big game last week. And so, especially when you think about how you attack this Jets defense, you don't want any part of Sauce Gardner. DJ Reed's going to be back as well. So where do you attack? You try to attack the middle of the field. You try to attack the tight end. So Hunter Henry, I think, is a viable tight end 1 streamer this week.
Number 19 on the list, Jonnu Smith for the Dolphins taking on the Cardinals. Lawrence.
Yeah, shout out to him, Brittany, for being tight end 2 last week. 7 catches, 96 yards, and a touchdown. But that wasn't Tua at quarterback. In week 1 with a full game with Tua, he caught only 1 of 2 targets for 6 yards. In week 2 of Tua's 25 passes, Jonnu Smith was only targeted on 3 of those. So he's throwing to Jalen Waddle and he's throwing to Tyreek Hill and maybe randomly whoever's running wide receiver 3 for the Dolphins, but he's not much into the tight ends.
All right, Jonnu Smith getting a shout out here. And look at back on the field after 2 weeks on the sidelines, Colts running back Jonathan Taylor, all aboard the J train. When we come back, it's Beer Goggles.
I would say 3 beers. Probably if I would be like you, I would need half. So I'd probably say 3.5. But I'll go 3 beers because here's
3 and then some.
Here's some good things. He the wide receiver 1 in Cleveland. I don't know what that means, but that's what he is. Cincinnati has also allowed a wide receiver to score in 4 of their past 5 games. Their defensive backfield is not good, so there's a chance Judy could get one of them fluky touchdowns like he had earlier in the season. So 3 beers on Judy.
I like it.
What's with the half beer stuff? Like, what do you order like half a drink?
No. But my thought was, if we're going 1 to 5 beers, I'll be under the table with 5 beers, so not like that I wouldn't even be able to play anybody.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I was thinking maybe 1 to 3 would be my range, and
Understood.
if I needed,
Yeah.
1.5.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
I mean,
All right.
look, I just talked about Jerry Judy. It has to be like very pinpoint caveats here.
Well,
we talking about
Well,
You can't do like
just
0.8.
whatever, like because you are petite. I'm a big fat F, and so like it takes more to get me drunk than I would think.
Yeah, so
Yes.
I wouldn't want that.
I'm scaling.
Yeah.
You know,
In Australia, we have
dear.
pots and pints. And a pot is like, I think it's like half the size of a pint. Here, everything's just a pint. Like you order a beer, it's a
Right.
massive beer every single
Yeah,
time.
of course.
In Australia, it's a bit more kind of egalitarian. It's an
Yeah, it's
equal opportunity offense in the pot. So
Yeah,
you
yeah,
could
Australia, you
have
have
two
choices
pints
here.
and a pot.
Who
Yeah,
knew?
fair
Pot
enough.
sounds bigger than a pint. I'll be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah, it's
does.
true.
I would
It's
order
not-
incorrectly.
Yeah.
Jay, how many different size glasses do you have if you wanted to order a beer?
Good lord.
So, firstly, Australia is a very strange place,
Obviously.
particularly by region, and no bias whatsoever coming from Melbourne, but everyone outside of Melbourne is a little weird. So, in Tasmania and WA, they have these glasses called smalls and bobbies, apparently. I've never really seen a pony. It's really the pot, the schooner, and the pint, which for those playing at home, pot 10 ounces, schooner 15, pint 20 ounce. But yeah, it's good to have different levels of specification. Not everyone should just have to have a pint.
Something for everybody.
Yeah, there you go.
Wait, is the Bobby the size of our shot glasses?
I think so. Again, that's Western Australia. It's all the way on
So
the
it's
other
all
side of
weird.
the country. There's a lot of desert in between
Okay,
them and
great.
the rest of civilization.
So what do you want to speak in today?
So
We're
you
talking- if we're
order the
talking
size when
beers.
you go. I want a
You want a
bobby
pot.
of this, or I
Yeah.
want a pot of that.
Yeah, again, we can't attach Bobby to Australia because it's very specifically to one part of the
Okay.
nation.
Yeah, well, I'd
but
like a-
I'll have a pot or I'll have a pint. Whereas
Yeah.
here you just say, I'll have X
beer.
I'll have a,
I'll have a Michelob or I'll have a Bud Light.
A
You
Bud
know,
Light,
yeah,
yes.
exactly. I'll have a Bud Light.
Yeah.
But in Australia, do they say
I'll have
like
a pot or a pint.
Pot,
Yeah.
a pot, a pint.
Yeah, you specify every time.
Right.
Exactly.
A
The
jug
default is
makes a
probably
lot of sense.
what was that one?
I'll
Let
take
me-
a,
is
I'll
that
take
it?
like a,
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
take a pony of Foster's.
Right, so no one
The
has ever
schooner.
said that, I don't think. Schooner.
Schooner.
Yeah.
I would
Which
assume
again-
Bud Light is also popular in
Oh,
Australia,
it's
right?
huge, yeah.
Yeah.
More popular than Foster's, which is not actually a beer in Australian street.
They say it's Australian for beer, but I don't think it really is.
It's like Australians for beer when you're like an expat in like Britain.
Yeah.
It doesn't, you don't actually drink it
Stick
there.
out
Yeah.
like them.
No.
Okay,
We're
let's
a
play
Bud
some
Light
beer
show.
goggles.
We're a Bud
On a
Light
scale
show.
of 1 to 5 beers, are we ordering pots, schooners, or pints?
So pints.
Pints, okay.
Stick to
Okay.
North
1 to
American
5
Collins.
pints of beer. What would it take for you to start these players? So we'll start with the Green Bay Packers at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Matthew Berry, Romeo Dobbs, how many beers?
2 beers. 2 beers, and when you're a big fat F like me, 2 beers doesn't do that much to you. You know, Jags allow the most yards per game to perimeter wide receivers so far this season. Dobbs has been hot lately as well, and since week 3, Jacksonville allows the second most touchdowns to opposing wide receivers. You know I love Jordan Love in this game as well. So Dobbs, Jaden Reed, they should all be big parts of this. Just 2 beers for me. I'm at wide receiver 25.
Okay, 2 pints. Christian
2 pints.
Kirk for Jay, how many?
4 pints for
4.
Christian Kirk. The thing is that Christian Kirk's actually having a really good season. It's just that his name now is Evan Engram in that offense, where Evan Engram is stealing all the slot over the middle stuff from Christian Kirk. Now, he's still Christian Kirk, and it should regress at some point. It's just probably going to regress on a different team, is the way that is headed. So 4 pints for Christian Kirk.
Well, unfortunately, we had Travis Etienne here for you, Lawrence.
Yeah. That would have
would've
taken
taken
5
how many
beers,
beers?
jugs, pints, schooners. I needed all
All
that
of the above?
for a guy who ain't playing. Yeah.
Moving forward, how about Buffalo Bills at the Seattle Seahawks? Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
What would it take for Amari?
0 beers, stone cold sober.
I like it.
I'm doing this with the lights on, Brittany. Listen, targeted with 5. He had only 12 routes. He had only 12 routes last week. He got a target on 5 of them, caught 4 of them for 66 and a touchdown. And now he gets to go to Seattle with another week in this system, another week of experience with Josh Allen. And the matchup is terrific. Over the last 4 weeks, the Seahawks allow the 6th most fantasy points per game to opposing wide receivers. So, yes, I expect Josh Allen to feature his new buddy, Amari Cooper, My wide receiver 15 this week, 0 beers.
0 beers. Making
Stone
good
cold
decisions the rest of the
sober.
way.
You bet.
We'll see. Dalton Kincaid, how confident are we feeling?
Very confident. 0 bobbies, 0
Yeah.
ponies, lights on, lights off, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Dalton Kincaid, 0. And that's really just the byproduct of him being a tight end. It's not so much the confidence that he's going to have some massive game, but I think Dalton Kincaid, you've just got to lock him in and start him every week. Even if it's going to be 4 for 50, that is still viable at the tight end position.
Lawrence, are you going to be enjoying yourself here with this matchup with any beers? Tyler Lockett?
Yeah, I am. Without DK Metcalf playing, just a few though, just 2. With him and Jackson Smith and Jigba, they should be the top 2 pass catchers. He, like Jay said earlier, 6 for 61. Like, you just have to be okay with that, and that's why it's 2 beers instead of 1.
Okay, the only one enjoying some. Chiefs Raiders, Alexander Mattinson, how many beers, pints, schooners, whatever you want to take?
I want 3 beers. I want to start feeling something here where I'm just like, I'm starting looking for a designated driver around 3 beers, right? Look, Chiefs allow a league low 14.3 fantasy points per game to opposing running backs. Chiefs have yet to allow a running back to reach 70 scrimmage yards this season. They haven't even given up a touchdown to an opposing running back since week 3. So Alexander Mattison, who doesn't have the job entirely to himself, you'll see a little bit of Zamir White. I think you'll see a little bit of Amir Abdullah. So 3 beers. 3 beers for Alexander Mattison. He's running back 32 for me, outside my top 30 today.
All right, Jay, what are you ordering with Xavier Worthy?
3 schooners for Xavier Worthy.
Yeah.
Now, the thing with Xavier Worthy is that
Remember,
he really
in
should.
between.
Yes,
Schooner.
in between the
In
pints
between.
and the
That's the
posh.
schooner right
Yeah,
there.
the schooner is very much the kind of third receiver in the offense in terms of how it's used. Very much the Jalen McMillan when everyone is healthy on the Bucs. But with Xavier Worthy, he really should have caught a 60-yard bomb touchdown from Patrick Mahomes against the Niners. Mahomes just overthrew it. He had 2 deep balls against the Saints where Paulson and Debo committed crimes against him on both of those passes.
Yeah.
So Xavier Worthy's just been this close to a couple of big receptions, and against the Raiders defense that isn't as good as it was in the back end of last season, I think there is a good chance that he can get open for one. But again, he's someone whose whole day hinges on a couple of inches.
And Patrick Mahomes, how he's feeling. DeAndre Hopkins added
that.
to the Chiefs roster. How many beers would it take?
Yeah, this adds up well. Jay went 3 with Worthy. I'm going 2 for Hopkins. I'm likening it to what Amari Cooper was able to do to the Buffalo Bills. Matthew mentioned it earlier. They get near the goal line. I expect them to try D-Hop on a jump ball. Plus, they really can't afford to not have him on the field. They ain't got no receivers. Like, they down Juju. They lost Juju Smith. They can't go out there with Sky Moore. So Hopkins, I expect him to do a little bit of something, so just 2 beers.
Just 2 beers for you. All right, final matchup for beer goggles here. Let's talk a little about Bears, Commanders, the matchup that's sending me to Tokyo. Terry McLaurin.
Yeah, 1 beer for him. He caught all 5 of his targets from Mariota last week for 95 yards. Feels like he's sort of quarterback proof. I do expect Jaden Daniels to start in this game. He's had 5 straight games with at least 13 fantasy points as well. Now, it's not a great matchup. Bears top 7 in terms of fewest fantasy points allowed to opposing wide receivers, but McLaurin is so good, and he gets so many targets from Jaden Daniels, who, again, I expect to start. Just 1 beer. He's my wide receiver 17 today.
Lawrence said it would be devastating if Jaden Daniels didn't start. Okay, what about Keenan Allen?
Going 2 beers for Keenan Allen. Now, I understand it's been a little bit underwhelming, though he did get into the end zone a couple of times in London. I don't really buy the resurgence of this Washington defense. I think they're improved, but I'm not expecting them to be the unit that they have been the past month where they've really locked teams down outside of Baltimore. So I think with Keenan Allen, even though he's well behind DJ Moore in the pecking order, I still think he is, for the most part, a viable flex guy.
And Caleb Williams at the helm for the Bears.
You kind of said it, Jay. The Commanders are good at stopping like average to below average quarterbacks, but Caleb Williams in this Bears offense is on the rise. He's quarterback 8 in his last 3 games, so I'm only going to go 1 beer that I need to start Caleb Williams versus the Commanders.
Okay, now my question is, how many beers would it take for you to put on a Fred costume at Halloween?
Stone cold sober, that's me. I'm ready to solve some mysteries.
Oh.
Some of my friends as well.
He grew the hair out.
As well.
Yeah, that's Trevor Lawrence hair.
Yeah, exactly.
There's Trevor Lawrence hair right there.
To me, as I mentioned in the text thread, it's more
Look
like
at that.
Bjorn Borg.
Yeah, it's
Man, you look like
the racket.
the wig came with the wig. By the way,
That's like Elton John.
that kerchief is hanging on for dear life. By the way, because It was just they only had a large, and I've got a thick neck, and so that kerchief was hanging on for dear, dear life as well. My wife looked great as Daphne.
Yes.
Yes.
You know.
Do you two dress up every year?
We do dress up every year, and I mean, the mystery I was trying to solve is how I wound up with Daphne. To be perfectly honest, with I totally outkicked my coverage there. So. But we had a lot of fun.
People don't realize that Matthew looked like that in 2003. That was just around.
Exact same thing.
Exactly.
All you gotta do is Google it, folks.
Yeah. No, that was all stuff in my closet. Just had to go way back in the closet. But
Your closet, it sounds interesting.
it is. You have no idea. You have no idea the treasures.
The Lime
that
and
are right
Tequila
there.
couple, give them a shout out. That was
Yeah,
great.
my
All
friends
right.
Brian and Lemma.
Time
Shout out to
for
them.
pickup
That's by the way,
lines.
Tequila. That's my buddy Brian, the Bengals fan that I was telling you about.
right.
My buddy, who's one of my really good friends, who's always gets boned by the Bengals. He's a diehard Bengals fan.
All right, time for pickup lines presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. All right, Jay, look at you, picked up by Barry 4 times.
Yep.
Last week, though, didn't it go in Lawrence's favor?
Yeah.
And no
Yeah.
call?
Yeah.
No call.
No
No
call.
call despite its believer winning bet on the Sun God. That's
Yeah,
okay.
you did. You cashed it early too.
All right, let's get this going. Lawrence, for you, what's the sell?
Hey man, I did you dirty last week with Nick Chubb, man. I think this is the first time when I'm actually saying I did you dirty. But man,
Yeah.
I ain't expect them to be looking like that.
Okay.
I should have said touchdown, but whatever. But I'm going
We
back.
move
I'm going back to the Browns, man.
Okay.
But not Nick Chubb,
Fair enough.
Jameis. And them interceptions you think he gonna throw, it's not gonna matter, because all we need him to do is throw for 250 yards at plus 115. That was plus 120 this morning. Look, Baltimore's allowed at least 269 passing yards, 6 of their 7 games this season. 3 of those games was at least 370, right? No Marlon Humphrey.
Yep.
No Nate Wiggins. That's 2 of their top 3 corners, and they already bad on pass defense, right? It's by far the worst pass defense in the league. So there you go. Jameis Winston, 250 yards is what? 7.5-point underdogs. That's all you need. Plus money, of
At
course.
plus money. At plus money. I like that.
I really
actually like that one. All right, Jay.
He started
What do you
it,
got? And you saw
I'm
the
sorry
picture
for
of me
not
as
calling.
you saw the picture of me as Fred.
yes.
That's what you want to bring home.
Increases the stakes.
Yeah.
My bet to you, Matthew, is Bryce Young to throw an interception at minus 135. And the reason I'm suggesting it to you is because it's going to happen. It's Bryce Young who's going to throw an interception.
Yeah.
Clearly, going up against an elite Broncos defense that has a great pass rush. Patrick Surtain, who doesn't really need to put anyone on an island. He can just wade out into the sea and get an interception. You think Jonathan Minko is going to run the right route every time? You think Bryce Young, as a double-digit underdog, dropping back to pass a ton? In his 2 starts this year, he's thrown 3 picks in 56 pass attempts. It's just going to happen, and it's minus 135, so Bryce Young throwing an interception. Sorry, Bryce, cheering for you, but I think it's
Yeah.
gonna be a pick.
I ain't even mad at that.
I got to be honest
ain't
with you.
mad
Like,
at that.
I like both bets. I will take both bets, but I'm going to go home with Jay. I mean, come on,
I ain't mad at you.
Yeah.
I ain't mad at it, because
You know,
it looks
if
crazy.
I have to, basically, this boils down to: do I believe in the success of Jameis Winston or the failure of Bryce Young? And you play the odds, right?
I
And
got
I like Bryce Young. Like
Yeah,
again,
I'm cheering for the best.
I root for the kid. I think he got a raw deal. He is a better quarterback than he has shown so far in the pros. But
It's a tough
this
situation
is a very
to come
tough
back
situation
for this week.
For this week on the road at Denver, that's playing really, really well. That gets Surtain back, and his top 2 playmakers are going to be out.
Hand it off, Bryce. Hand that ball off.
It's going to be tough.
Back-to-back pickups for Lawrence there. All right, we mentioned this at the end of the show, and I felt quite bad for just calling him out here. But yes, this is my fiance's squad on the right, Patrick. He needs some help here. I don't know if he's ever won.
Well, he better
a
get
week.
ETN
He got-
out
I was just going to
exactly.
say,
He's got
let's
to
start
get
with
ETN
that.
out.
Let's start with getting
So-
Travis
so
Etienne out of the
Let's
lineup.
give him some help here. Love him to death, but the fantasy not going so well.
Oh, man, he got to start Zamir White.
I know, that's the problem.
Oh,
So
no.
the
What's his
issue
name?
is that
Patrick.
Patrick's running backs are awful, is the biggest problem. Like, he's got Etienne Warren and Zamir White, and that's it. And he doesn't have room, so he's got Devontae Smith on his bench. And he doesn't have room for him because he's got JSN, Justin Jefferson, and George Pickens. I would get Devontae Smith in there for JSN, is what I would do lineup-wise.
Yeah.
As I think that's a bet. But honestly, the better thing is what he should do is in the next 13 minutes, try to trade one of those wide receivers for a usable running back.
Yep.
Honestly, is what he should do. Or at some point, because he's just he needs.
Try and trade like Devontae Smith for J.K. Dobbins or something
Yeah,
like that.
Okay.
that's a perfectly fine trade.
Yeah.
Noted.
Yeah.
Writing the notes down. It was just unfortunate. He picked up Kirk Cousins. Obviously, he benched Dak because Dak had a bye last week, and Kirk just did not.
Look at
I've had a buy.
the other team ain't like crazy
There
good
you
either,
go.
but
Yeah.
they got running backs though.
At least, yeah. That would be pretty interesting if he offered a trade to the other team just before they play.
Much appreciated, you guys.
It'd be ballsy.
All right, step aside. Break time. When we come back, it'll be a little bar trivia as well. I'm talking touchdown parlay. But what about
Jameis,
this?
let's
He's
go.
pumped up. Another iconic Jameis Winston hype speech. I just need one interception, but you can do whatever else you want the rest of the game. I don't mind. We'll be back. Breece Hall for the people. Yes, it was the final touchdown we needed to hit our anytime touchdown parlay.
Let's go.
Edge of my seat, right? I heard that it hadn't been hit before. Is that true?
Factually
That's
correct.
true.
This is
You're bringing the vibes.
This is our group chat. And Lawrence with the gift. And I
forgot
mentioned
I
George
did
on the
that.
show, touchdown parlay is 0 for 6. Brittany on the show, touchdown parlay 1 for 1. And then I had
That's the awkward face.
Yeah, and then I had to do a little like, we love you, George, so he didn't,
He
feel
doesn't
bad because
really
he was
love
in.
you,
I
George.
know. I mean, but like, he's in Japan and just like already feeling like he's not part of the show, and I was like, just because his touchdown parlays haven't hit, and he's been
This is
dragging us
the Zozo
down.
Championship.
Could you imagine if it hit today too?
Oh,
I know.
And it is.
I know.
It's coming.
It
Yeah.
will.
It will.
Well-
It will. And you can bet it in the DraftKings app, by the way. Just go to the DraftKings app and look for our little fantasy football happy hour 4 touchdown parlay.
Yes.
Jay, why don't you kick us off?
Yes, my installment into the parlay is Saquon Barkley, who individually is minus 160. Now, the knock on Barkley is always that Jalen Hurts is going to vulture him at the goal line. Well, the Cincinnati Bengals run defense, I think will allow him to score an explosive touchdown from further back.
Lawrence, what about you?
I'm gonna go with Jonathan Taylor here. He's played 4 games. He's scored 4 rushing touchdowns. One of those are the Houston Texans, and I'm really picking him because I was made to pick a minus bet because I like to pick plus money. So I'm
Forced to?
So I'm going Jonathan Taylor here to score 1.
Okay.
I'm going to go Ken Walker. I mean, he's been a touchdown machine. You heard me talk throughout the week, throughout the show as well about how much they use him in the passing game, how bad Buffalo is in the passing against receiving running backs as well. He's had he's had a ton of touchdowns, and I believe he scored in every single game he's played. So yeah, give me Ken Walker to get into the end zone against the Bills today.
Okay, minus 130 for Ken Walker. Bijan Robinson is where I'm going. Minus 150, coming off for the first game of the season, above 100 rushing yards for a total of 248 yards and 3 touchdowns. So for me, gonna round it out with Bijan Robinson. Plus 795, I think. Was that our total? Yeah, 773. 773. And that is featured on DraftKings, as you heard Matthew say. So again, DraftKings, best place to play the anytime touchdown parlay. Right there. I like it. That is a sharp headshot, by the way.
Thank you very much.
I'm glad it's just your picture on it, though, so just in case they come after you,
after you.
None of us, so we good.
Yeah, exactly. I get that. I feel that. All good.
Last
Plus
call
773.
time. You know what happens now. Bar trivia. What are the standings as of late? Oh, wow. Things are getting tight.
Things are getting tight. Things are getting tight. I'm a point out. I'm making my move.
I like how all Jay says is, well, Matthew's losing.
Yeah.
That's the highlight there.
Defending champion.
I'd
Please
love
refer me as the
Lawrence
defending
to
champion.
win. Yeah.
Okay. You would love Lawrence to win?
No, I just need Matthew to lose.
True that.
Is it because you don't think I would brag as much as Matthew does?
No one will.
What happens if he wins?
We just hear about it.
Yeah, all the time.
It's really annoying.
I'm really obnoxious.
You know what? You're right, because it's like if I win, it's like win like you've been there before.
Yeah.
When Matthew win, we go here, so I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
He's going to be doing like the Jason Tatum tour of celebrating championships.
Jason Tatum tour.
1,000%. I might take the trophy around and we might do a parade.
Yeah, you'll
here
start
in the
yelling.
studio.
You'll start yelling anything is possible.
Yeah.
Has already been done. Yeah.
1,000%.
All right, let's get right into it. More fantasy points. Jamar Chase or A.J. Brown?
A.J. Brown.
I'm going to go Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase.
Big Show's telling all this up for us. More passing yards. Lamar Jackson or Jameis Winston?
Jameis.
Wow. Damn. And that was no hesitation.
Jameis.
F it, Lamar.
That's
a desperate play.
Yeah, exactly. I'm down by one.
Is there a Patrick Mahomes? I don't know. More total yards. Jahmyr Gibbs or Tony Pollard?
Gibbs.
Tony Pollard.
More total yards. I'll go Gibbs.
More rushing yards. Devon Achane or James Conner?
I'll go James Conner.
Achane.
Devon Achane.
Okay. More receptions. Devontae Adams or Garrett Wilson?
Garrett Wilson.
Yeah?
Devontae.
More passing yards. Okay, here we go. Kirk Cousins or Baker Mayfield?
Kirk Cousins.
Baker.
Baker.
65.
Yeah.
More receiving yards. Brian Thomas or Jaden Reed?
Brian Thomas.
Brian Thomas.
Brian Thomas.
Okay, back in the mix is Jonathan Taylor. So more rushing yards. Taylor or Mixon?
Mixon for me.
Jonathan Taylor.
More fantasy points. Alvin Kamara or J.K. Dobbins?
Dobby.
Did we get it?
Kamara. Sorry. I was looking at
at
Jaden Daniels. It's set to start on my phone.
I'm betting our touchdown prop too, by the way.
More total yards. Ken Walker or James Cook?
Let's see. I'm going to say Ken Walker. KW3.
Ken Walker.
Consensus. More rushing yards. Chuba Hubbard or Javonte Williams?
Javonte.
Javonte Williams.
No love for Chuba. More receptions. Travis Kelce or Brock Bowers?
Brock Bowers.
More fantasy points. DJ Moore and Terry McLaurin?
Even with Jaden Daniels set to start, I'm going DJ Moore.
Okay.
All right, Terry McLaurin. Need a little difference. I mean,
desperate with 10 weeks to go.
Yeah, I'm desperate with 10 weeks to go, and I'm down one.
Only down one.
Just throwing a Hail Marys in the first quarter.
Final bar trivia. More passing yards. Dak Prescott or Brock Purdy?
Brock Purdy.
Dak.
Brock Purdy.
It's a loss for Lawrence.
Yeah.
Happy to bank that one at the end.
We shall see.
All right, that was bar trivia. We'll see how things shake up next week. We've got some Jaden Daniels news incoming.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels to start, barring a setback in his workout. Dan Quinn tells Tracy Wolfson. That's from Ian Rappaport. Okay.
All right, there you
Yeah,
go.
you
Let's
gotta be
go.
feeling good
I
about
will
that.
not be devastated.
Faith in 5.
About to
Let's
switch
go.
all my lineups. Yes,
Start them if you got them.
indeed.
Fantastic.
I know.
Now we got a
Okay.
matchup. Now we got a
Final
game.
thought.
I just a shot of redemption. Shot of redemption. At least I hit it.
I could tell that's what you was like. Just let me hit the
Just
board.
let me hit the board.
At least
Not much
not another
velocity.
quarterback out. Okay, last question here. Flex decision between the two tanks. Full point PPR.
Give me Bigsby.
Bigsby.
Better chance. All right, it's closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. For Brittany, who's on her way to Japan, Lawrence and Jay, I'm Matthew. Go get yourself a win. Good luck. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.